Hello, guys, and welcome back to the WildTalk podcast with myself, Dan, and my lovely co-host Corey. How are you, mate?
Oh, I'll do it. I'm much better after you refer to me as lovely.
It'll be the first and the last time.
That's fine. It makes it more special.
I'll come up with a different name next time for you. A different
Yeah, but
description.
that's fine as long as you keep it PG.
Oh.
But
There's
yeah,
a
I'm all
surprise.
good. I'm all good. I'm still recovering a little bit. I've had about 3 hours sleep in the past 4 days, so I'm a bit knackered. But yeah,
How was uh, how was Scotland?
do you know what? Right, it was brilliant. Obviously I've been in winter before. This time last year I was on Mull with the family and that, but this is obviously our first wildlife related trip. And I mean, 2 nights with the Pine Martins, full day. I mean, I climbed a mountain. That's something I thought I'd never do in my entire
Oh,
life is climb a
well done.
mountain. The mountain hares were brilliant. Well, yesterday was quite good as well. We did a lot of landscape yesterday, and I we finished off the holiday with a Top Gear style race home. We drove to Edinburgh. Rob dropped me off at Edinburgh train station. I got on the train, and we see the first one home, and I beat him by 2.5 minutes from
Oh,
getting off the train, and then getting the bus from the train station to.
but that is because he drives a Ford.
He drives like a lunatic, does Rob.
What
On
has he
those,
got? Is it a Ford
he's got
Fiesta?
Fiesta ST. Yeah,
Oh,
he'll
God.
go into more. Yeah, when we get him on, he'll go into some more detail about that. But yeah, when we was on those, obviously you haven't been to Mull, have you?
No, never been to Mull.
Mull, essentially, you've got one ring road that kind of goes around the entire island, more or less.
Hmm.
And even that at most times is single lane, but majority is like double lane. And then every other of the other, maybe like 5 or 6 roads through the middle of Mull is like little off track national speed limit single track roads with occasional passing places. And he
Yeah.
was barreling down there at full speed, hitting corners at 60 mile an hour. Yeah, he
That
was
sounds thrilling.
you know what, granted, we've not died yet, and he does handle it fairly well. But I remember last year we was at Loch Spelv and we were coming away from it, and he hit a corner at 60 miles an hour, as did a post lady, and that was the only time that we've had to kind of get up and clean the seats afterwards.
That's just you. That's just you every day at the moment,
Yeah.
mate.
How was your weekend? Have you done any photography this
Um,
weekend?
no. This weekend was just a nice chilled weekend with Jen. Going to do the mountain goats this weekend, which should be quite exciting.
The
Um,
Welsh mountain
the
goat.
Welsh mountain goats in the
Oh,
quarries.
what day are you
Yeah.
doing that?
Um, I don't know, Saturday, I think.
Oh, I'm very jealous. I'll have to join you at some point in the future.
Yeah, we'll go down and do it. I've never walked the quarry. I've only ever driven past it, but yeah, we'll see what it's like.
Looking forward to it. So obviously you've had a quite chilled weekend. How's your brain feeling? Is it feeling rested?
Mine's feeling rested, yeah.
Good, because obviously I said to you before we started recording, I've got
Oh,
something for you.
Jesus.
So
Right.
last week, obviously our podcast, we spoke a lot about like being an expert in your field. And I thought,
Are you gonna put me on the spot here and I'm gonna look like a
I
right,
thought, how can I put
you
Dan
know
on the
what?
spot and make him look like a tit?
Yeah. Oh,
So what I've
pardon the
got for
pun.
you here is this is all written by myself as well, and
Okay.
this is a 10 question quiz about UK wildlife, and there is 17 points available.
Could you not have let me do some research before? Because
Absolutely not.
I'm gonna look like a right
I want
muppet
you
here now.
and I want you to give me a gentleman's agreement that you're not going to cheat and use your phone because you've got
I'm
5 seconds to answer each
5
question.
seconds. All right.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So, right, are you ready for this?
Yeah, no, but go on.
Right, question number one. What is the UK's fastest land mammal?
Your mum.
Let's take this seriously here.
Sorry, the opportunity was there. I had to go for it.
If you've met my mum, she's not fast. Right, try that again. What is England? I wrote England, but we'll go. What is the UK's fastest land mammal?
Why is my brain gone completely dead?
5, 4, 3,
You've done this to make me look like an
2.
absolute tit, haven't you?
The answer is the brown hare.
Oh, is it?
It is, yeah. It's the fastest land mammal. It can reach speeds up to 87 kilometers per hour.
What about the mountain hare? Is that slower?
The mountain hare is slower because it's slightly larger.
Ah.
Obviously, it has to fatten up over winter for the conditions. So,
So they
next
do about they
question.
do about 45 mile an hour, don't they?
Yeah,
Mountain
they can
hare.
go quite fast. Yeah.
Mm.
What is England's smallest bird?
The wren.
No, the
Is it
wren.
not?
No, the wren is the shortest bird, not the smallest bird. I'll give you one more guess.
It's gonna be one of the gold crest or
I'll take your
fire
first
crest.
answer. It was the goldcrest. So that's 1 point you've got so far.
Well, hey,
Okay.
I had one of them in the garden last week.
Good for you.
Mhm.
What is
Cheers.
what is the UK's fastest bird?
Peregrine.
Correct. 2 points. This might throw you off a little bit. What is England's largest land-based predator? I was going to say something, but I'm not going to.
Oh, I know where we're going with that.
Let's talk
perfect.
animal wise. What is England's largest land-based predator?
Oh God, land-based predator.
Yeah.
Land-based predator. Why have I got a fox in my head, but it's obviously not a fox?
It's not a
There's
fox.
something bigger than that.
Yeah, and when I say bigger, I'll give you a hint with this one.
Ooh.
More girthy.
I've still got somebody in my mind here.
Yeah, let's not talk.
More girthy than a fox.
Yeah, I'll give you 5 seconds. 4,
It's more
3,
girthy than a fox.
2. Right, last hint. You photographed it.
I photographed it.
You photographed this before.
Oh, hang on,
At
let me
night.
go.
At night time.
I'm not-
No.
At night time. Oh, it's a badger, in it.
It's a badger, correct. So I'll give you that one, even though I'll give you a few.
Although the badgers that I photographed only ate nuts, so maybe they aren't.
Yeah. All right. What bird has the scientific name Troglodytes troglodytes? You've already given me this as an answer as well for a different question.
I said wren.
That's correct.
Yes, I didn't.
Right.
I actually didn't know that.
I'll give you a plus or minus of 20 here. How many bird species are noted to live or migrate to the UK?
I'm going for stab in the dark. Bird species to migrate to the UK.
And live natively in the UK as well. So all bird species found within the UK, whether it's a summer, winter migrant, or all year round.
My God.
You can get within 20 here, I'll give you.
I'm probably going to lowball myself, but I'm going well into like the 270s.
You were miles off, 628 roughly.
Jesus, that's mental.
More of a tough question. How many species?
Because the others have been easy, mate.
How many species of wasp are in the UK?
Wasp? There's just,
wasp.
There's just one. That annoying one that flies around your tuna sandwich.
Incorrect. It's 9,000.
9,000?
Yeah, you've got all your parasitic species as well.
So only you would know that.
A very easy one for you. What is the UK's only aquatic songbird?
Dipper.
Cool. So that's 5 you've got so far. What year were red kites reintroduced to the UK?
Ooh.
I'll give you a plus or minus of 5 years.
Reintroduced. I know when they were roughly done round by me. And I want to say, I've read this literally within the past sort of month. It's going to be earlier, but I'm going to say around about the 19... Oh, why have I got 1950s in my head? But it's probably not. Is it sooner than the 1950s?
Much sooner.
1810.
That's later, not sooner.
1950. Oh, sooner. 1980s.
Give me a year within the 80s.
1984.
1984. I'll give you a plus or minus of 5. The correct answer is 1990.
God.
Right, and this is the last question worth 7 points.
Wow.
You should be able to get this one. I reckon you will anyways. Name all the UK corvids. All the corvids found within the UK.
Okay, so we've got the crow.
Yep.
Obviously. Jackdaw.
Yep.
Raven.
Yep.
Magpie.
Yep.
Hooded crow.
Yep.
How many am I on? 5.
Yep, you got 2. Oh, there's 8 points available here. You've got 8. You got 3 more.
J falls in with corvids.
Yep.
What are the other 2?
I'll give you a clue. One has a red beak, one has a white beak.
Oh,
roughly.
Chuff.
Yep.
One has a white beak.
Whitish. Gives you a medieval sort of vibe.
Have I said rook?
Yeah, you haven't. That's 8. So you got 13 out of 17.
17. It's not terrible.
It's not terrible at all. That's decent.
It's
I went-
also not cracking when
Uh,
the fastest land.
Tell you what, right? I'll you do the same for me for next week. 10 questions,
Mhm.
and we'll see how well I do.
I'll nerd out a bit with more of your questions because of your background as well.
Yeah, because obviously I am
Nerd.
yeah, I'm a nerd. Yeah. Well, I think that went on long enough.
It did.
I'm gonna try to see if I can figure out a way to worm one of them questions into our guest. Right. So one of the answers. Tell you what, actually, the red kites reintroductions. Obviously, we know some of the sites. They were reintroduced originally to Wales in 1990, and then a few years later, Harewood House in Leeds, and then there's several sites in Scotland. I can't remember the places of them. So on the theme of Scotland, I would like to introduce our guest. We have Chris Reid, who's all the way from the northeast. Like I said last time, if you don't speak Scottish, then we will do our best to add subtitles. But his accent is not that bad. How are you doing, Chris?
I am fantastic. Thank you very much. I did actually wonder if you were going to have a translator on tonight, but I can I can turn on the posh voice if
it's
now
all
and
right.
again.
I speak Scottish. Both my kids, their middle name is Angus, which is a very Scottish name. It runs through the blood.
Yeah, we'll just have them. They can just come up here and live. That's fine.
You can take them any day of the week if you want. Give me a bit of peace and quiet. So we're gonna spiral onto a few topics. So if you don't know who Chris is, how about rather than me introducing you or Dan introduce you, do you want to introduce yourself, Chris? So let us know what it is that you do, where you're from, and intrigue us all.
Not a problem at all. So I suppose what some of your listeners will know me from is obviously my photography work under the name Speyside Snaps by Chris Reid. I would say the reason that you guys probably know me and several others probably know me is because of the hide I have that has goshawks at it. It's probably one of the only places in the entire of the UK, apart from maybe Ian Howells down in Wales, that you can basically regularly see goshawks, within about 10, 15 feet. So, I happen to have a hide. I'm very, very lucky to have this hide. It's not the only subject I photograph, of course. I have my Speyside Snaps accounts on both Facebook and Instagram, where you can see all the species I photograph. But I'm based out of a small place in the northeast of Scotland. It's actually just along the road from where they make Baxter soup. So,
where? Sorry,
but Baxter soup.
Baxter's soup.
Baxter soup.
You've never heard of it?
I've never heard of Baxter soup.
It's lovely.
No,
world famous Baxter soup.
I have Heinz, and that's pretty much it.
No.
Unless they do a chicken soup, I'm not a soup kind of bloke.
They do every kind of soup. They do every kind of soup.
I'm from Hull, though, so our soup is the blood and sweat of the local scallywags and stuff like that. And when we can't afford that, we just make each other cry for a bit of hydration.
It sounds like a thrilling place.
I know, that sounds fantastic. I'll have to get that a visit, I think. But
so
you
think you've seen some wildlife, you actually.
Yeah, different kind altogether. But it's a wee village called Fauquhurst. Is where I stay. As you mentioned, it's in the northeast of Scotland, in the sort of county of Moray. Murray's a fantastic place. It's I would say it's one of the sort of untapped resources for Scotland as far as wildlife goes. A lot of people automatically think Highlands, Cairngorms, wherever it may well be, but Moray has some amazing species, some fantastic habitats, and I'm very, very lucky to be able to call it my home. So that's a wee bit about me, and obviously what I do. It is just a hobby for me. It's not a full-time occupation. I have a big boy job as well. So
what's your big boy job?
So, well, I actually I'm a distillery operator. So I work for a well-known world whiskey producer and manufacturer.
Being Scottish, I can imagine that's an absolute delight for you, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's not a bad gig.
I got some whiskey from the Tobermory distillery last year before last. And I thought, oh, this looks quite nice. I'll have some. And it knocked me on my ass completely.
I think if you're not used to drinking whiskey,
funny enough, I haven't actually had a drop of alcohol since then.
Too traumatized.
Yeah, do you know what? Like, I don't think it's related, but no, I mean, it was delicious, and I literally have not in 2.5 years had a single drop since. So, yeah, I've not got much Scottish in my blood, have I?
Well, clearly not. No.
No. You need to spend more time up here, I think.
Oh well, that's the plan. I am. Dan will agree with me because we're both very much in love with the place. I go up about 3 times a year if I can. Dan goes quite a lot as well.
I thought you were going to say we're in love with each other then.
Yeah, well, we don't talk about that publicly.
No.
But
romance.
I mean, living up in Scotland is the dream. I mean, hopefully for me, my partner, and the kids, in a couple of years, in about 3 years' time, it'll become the reality for us. But yeah, I mean, to live up there, and for me, I've got a YouTube video coming up next week about it. Actually, it's not just the wildlife. I think there's just everything about being in Scotland, like the culture. Like, one thing I love about the West Coast is, like, we were walking through Urban back in July, and just listening to the people play the bagpipes on the street and eating the food, and just even the smell in the air. And obviously not Glasgow. Let's ignore Glasgow. But when you go further up north and stuff, that countryside, small town air, and just I think Scottish people have this reputation for being miserable bastards. But I mean, when we go up,
it's the complete opposite.
They're
so welcoming.
Yeah. I mean, that's a massive thing. You know, you always get this, you know, the tight Scotsman and the miserable Scotsman and stuff. But I mean, that's one of the main reasons I just love living up here. I mean, everybody's so hospitable, and I will put a disclaimer out there just so people don't think that they're going to turn around every street corner and see somebody playing the bagpipes, though. You know,
no, it's not. I mean, do you know what? Right, while we was up in the east, so obviously we spend most time up on the West Coast, and this weekend we was on the east, and we didn't actually. I mean, we went into Blairgowrie village, and bloody it was town actually. That was probably the least. That was more Hull. There were young lads race car driving. I was in the Tesco's, and I came outside, and there was four blokes. They weren't Scottish. I don't know where they were from, and they were smoking some of the devil's lettuce with each with a kind of special brew, and they had 3 dogs, and the 3 dogs were Chihuahuas. And I thought, wow, that sums you up a little bit. You're all these big hardy blokes with your alcohol and your drugs, and you've just got 3 Chihuahuas. But then you go to the other side of the town, and there's beautiful rivers and forests and mountains and big massive houses. It was a very weird place. But there was no bagpipes. There was a lot of Scottish accents, but no Scottish music.
There was no bagpipes when I was in Aviemore either.
No, I think it's more of a West Coast thing. Like, I was in Lochgilphead, however you pronounce it. And it was the same there as well. We could hear the bagpipes in the distance and all the sandwich shops, and it was on the coast and stuff like that. It was just, I think it's a East versus West maybe sort of style. I don't know, but yeah,
I don't know, because like when you start coming up this neck of the woods, the Highland Games are a massive thing up here. And
I'd love to go watch that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a Highland Games here in the village, but I mean, God, most of your villages, as you start spreading out, every village has got its own Highland Games, and just through different times of the year. So that's about as traditionally Scottish as you can find.
Have you ever taken part in the Highland Games?
No, do you know what though? A few years back, I actually got asked to come along and photograph the Highland Games at Aberlour, which is just another village along the road from me. And it was a fantastic day out. Basically, me and one of my mates spent the whole day just drinking beer and whiskey, taking the odd photograph, and just had a fantastic time. So.
Good. Typical Scottish day, that, innit? Beer and whiskey.
Do you know what? And then the next day, when I was looking back at my images, I was just amazed, absolutely amazed that I managed to get some really good images. So,
if you did take part in it, I mean, I only know a couple of the sports that they do. I don't know if you can count some of them as sports, but if you could take part in it, what would be your chosen activity?
I would love to have been born like 6'4". My mum wouldn't have thanked you for that, but I would have loved to have been I would have loved to have been one of these great big guys that's 6'4" and could have done the heavies events.
How tall are you? Because
I'm just 5'10". 5'10".
I'm 6'4" and it's not fun being this tall. So you don't want to be this tall. My hotel, it wasn't built for people of my height. And every time I got out of bed, I twatted my head on the light shade, and I've got now a little red cut on the top of my head from that.
Well, I'm with you, Chris. I'm the 5'10" gang as well. So.
Oh yeah.
But J.K. Rowling did actually describe you as small, didn't she?
Oh, she did. Yeah, she did. But she instilled a great power within me.
Yeah, I don't want to know what's coming out of your wand.
Oh, here we go.
Well,
we knew this episode was going to take this turn. We said before hitting record, we were having a brief chat before, and we just
brief.
Brief, yeah, 25 minutes. We did a podcast without even recording.
I've gone through my coffee already, and we're only 15 minutes into recording, if that.
I've gone through my beer already.
You beat it. What have you brought to the table today?
Same as last time and the time before that, just a Chieftain's Irish Pale Ale.
Sounds grim. What's your go-to beer, Chris, or alcoholic beverage? Apart from
the beer wise, I do like I like a lot of my kind of just traditional ales. Just a Duker's IPA even is quite nice when you're out and about in the pubs.
Interesting fact: my mum's family come from the village in which IPA is brewed and was created. Bury St Edmunds down in Suffolk.
Very nice.
Yeah,
very nice. I like a whiskey now and again as well, but whiskey just generally makes me sleep, which is
I need some of that.
Not the best thing if you're on a night out. I think there's a lot of people they say whiskey makes them aggressive and makes them angry and stuff. It doesn't. It just makes me want to sleep. So.
I've never had an alcoholic drink that makes me aggressive. When I used to get drunk, which was when I was at university 2 nights a week, alcohol used to make me fall asleep in the smoking area and then find some random guy and sit and chat to him about world politics for 2 hours.
Well, it's a funny thing because it's probably not the alcohol that makes you aggressive. It's probably just other people.
Yeah, that's not a problem there, isn't it? People nowadays. I mean, like, say if you ever come to Hull, you'll learn that people around here are just awful functioning members of society, and functions are it's just
barely functioning.
Yeah, it's not much better down here, mate. I don't like admitting where I'm from, Bradford, but. Yeah, it's not much better here.
So and nowadays, I think with the it was since the kids came on the go. It was 9 years back now. My alcohol intake has dropped off and off and off, and I think with the hobby, getting back on track, guys. You see what I did there? Yeah. With the hobby as well, I find so often I'm up and out ridiculously early, or I'm out late at night, and then, of course, the last thing you're wanting is to wake up with a hangover when you've got 2 young kids in the go. So,
well, that's it. I mean, I'm in the same boat as you. I've got 2 young kids, nearly 7-year-old and nearly 2-year-old, and I much prefer my early mornings and getting up and whatnot to a night out. I just can't. It's getting expensive as well. Now my tolerance is getting better. Or when it was getting better, it was like a £10 night out was becoming £100 night out, and
easy.
I spend that money on a new lens. So let's not get off topic. So, probably the question that a lot of people probably want to know the answer to. Your Goshawk hide, how did that come about?
I mean, I don't even think we go that far ahead, Corey. I think
you think it's jumping up a little bit too much.
I think we're jumping too far in. What some people may want to know, well, me and Corey definitely, is where did the sort of passion for wildlife photography, being in the outdoors come from?
That's what I meant. You just worded it differently for me.
You literally mentioned about a Goshawk hide.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
I mean, that did come slightly later. The Goshawk hide was a wee bit later. It's one of these funny things, and I suppose it's the old cliche. But I mean, like, as a child, I remember sitting down in the living room watching like BBC wildlife documentaries, even watching the Really Wild show, and it was one of these weird things that even as a kid, I was always outside. I was just always outside, and I used to kick about. And I like it. God, 3, 4, 5-year-old. I was out the house with a pair of wellies and a pair of shorts on, and that was it. And I would just spend hours and hours and hours just outside, enjoying being outside in nature. And I think as you get that wee bit older, the wildlife that you enjoyed as a child, I think you begin to appreciate it a wee bit more as you get that wee bit older as well. And it was actually, and I'm sure she regrets it to this day, but it was actually my wife's idea for me to buy a camera. I used to just go out, whenever I was out walking the dog, with all of the mobile phones and us, and I would just snap away at stuff. And it wasn't necessarily just wildlife at that point. A lot of it was kind of flora and fauna. I was, see a nice flower, see a nice insect, whatever it was. And I would just be taking pictures on my phone. And it was at that point my wife says to me, she says, "Oh, you seem to be all right at that." I said, "Oh, all right." And she says, I think you should. I was like, "Oh, well, you know how it is. After you've been married for a while, that is a compliment." So
yeah.
I thought, well, and she said, "Yeah, you should maybe get yourself a wee, half decent camera." And thousands of pounds later, we're yeah. I mean, we are where we are. I mean, I think when I first went out, I got it was a Nikon D3300 with a couple of kit lenses, like the 18 to 55 and a 70 to 300 Tamron. And very, very, very quickly you
outgrow the.
Oh yeah. And you especially with the influences of social media and stuff nowadays, and you see the results that some people are achieving and what can be achieved. I mean, gear doesn't make a photographer, but it certainly does help when you're trying to achieve a certain shot. And over time, I moved on to Sigma lenses and faster shutters, faster frame rates and better focus and whatever else. And I ended up coming around to the mirrorless gang a few years back and jumped ship over to Sony.
I did the same thing. Good.
Yeah.
Do you know what? It was actually you that. Obviously, you don't know this because I don't think we actually spoke at the time. It was you that persuaded me to go across because you shoot the A9 and the 200, 600, don't you?
Yeah,
so I saw your images and then a couple of other guys as well. I saw their images, but it was you watching what you were uploading that got me to research into the Sony A9 and 200, 600, sell all my Nikon gear and purchase them. And I have not looked back once since doing that.
You're very welcome.
What a beautiful moment.
That is it, yeah.
That was lovely.
You've shaped my photography career.
See, I mean, that's one of the funny things about this whole thing, isn't it? I think you're able to look at other people's stuff and appreciate it. There are obviously the issues with some photographers, but if you can look at somebody's stuff and you appreciate what they're able to achieve, not just through skill, but like you say, there is that aspect of you do need to have a camera that's going to that's going to do the job that you want it to do, and you need lenses that are going to do the job that you want them to do. So if you're seeing somebody that's achieving something that you want to with those lenses, then by all means it's a very nice form of flattery.
Exactly. Yeah, we was having this conversation last week roughly as well, in terms of like, it's not the camera, it's the photographer, which it definitely is. That is the case, but at the same time, if me and Dan shared the exact same skill when it came to photography, but I was still shooting on my old Nikon D5600 with that I had that 70 to Tamron 70 to 300 lens, and Dan's shooting on his, what is it you got? Is it a 5D you've got?
5D Mark IV, 500.
Yeah, and your 500 f4. Obviously, there's going to be one winner in terms of quality on that, and it's going to be me. It's going to be Dan. Sorry, it's going to be Dan.
I had people say to me when I swapped over to Sony. I had quite a few people say to me at the time. They said, "Oh, do you think your images are going to be that much better?" And the funny thing about it is, and when I look at it, the images aren't. The images aren't that much better. I mean, by the time I swapped over, I think I was using a D500 with the 300 PF f4
that
lens.
is such a beautiful combo.
It's a fantastic.
I had the 850 with a 300 PF, and that 300 PF. I said this to Rob yesterday, on Saturday. Sony need to release a a budget prime like the 300 PF, and I would be buying that straight away because that was without a doubt to this day the best lens I've ever owned.
I completely agree. I mean, I borrowed it when I went down to the
You borrowed it from me,
didn't I?
Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't get any photos of Ospreys, but I managed to use it, and I completely agree. It's an insane lens.
Man, I am getting wet just thinking about it.
But the 500 PF, or all of Nikon's PF prime lenses are just incredible.
Yeah, I see Rob shoot with the 500 PF, and some of the imagery he gets from it. I mean, granted, the 200 to 500 for Nikon was a fantastic lens; it really was. But the 500 PF and the 300 PF, if Sony released something like that. I hope you're listening, Sony, as well. I hope you're listening, because if you release that range, you will. I think the one thing that puts me back with the Sony stuff, the only thing I can say is the lenses. That you've got the 70 to 200, the 100 to 400, the 200 to 600, which cap out. I think the 100 to 400 is about just shy of $3,000. I think. I didn't pay that for it. I got it on finance, and then you jump straight to the 400 f2.8 at 8-9 grand, then the 600 f4 at 12 grand.
Did he not do 500?
No, they didn't release a 500 prime. Okay. No.
They used to do a 500 in one of the previous mounts. I think that was the A mount, wasn't it? I think it was the A mount. Yeah, and there is. I mean, again, it's always there's rumors of a 300 2.8, but I mean, even a 300 2.8. I mean,
it's too much. I don't want a 300 2.8. I want a 300.
What are they going to be looking at? They're still going to be looking at about $8,000 or something. But that lenses, those Nikon PF lenses, it's just I don't know why anybody else hasn't done similar, because I mean, although Canon went down the route with the, in my book, a wee bit ridiculous 600 and 800 f11s, which I think was just them going, look what we can do.
Well, Nikon have just done it with the 800 PF, aren't there? And
that's only still a
$2,000 lens, isn't it?
60?
Yeah, it's 6.3 lens. But I don't ever. Do you know what? Even on my 100 to 400, I don't ever really find myself shooting below 7.1. So even if Sony released a 300 6.3 or a 500 7.1, for me, I would be absolutely buzzing about that, because I know it's affordable. Because like you and like Dan, we are all. I don't want to say that you're poor. I'm not saying that. We're all working class kind of guys.
It all adds up. It's all money. I mean, we don't have. Like Canon have just released, or I say recently released their 1200 mil f8. Yeah. People don't have 26 grand.
No, is that how much it is?
20. It's up in the 20s, 23, 24 grand to just throw down on a lens. It just doesn't happen these days, unless you are obviously professional in the game, or an ambassador for Canon, then you get it for free.
Or if you're chummy with Sigma, who would loan you lenses.
We
love the little jokes.
I know of individuals. I know of it. Like there is that toss up between gear and ability, and like we have spoke about this before. And I know individuals who think because they've got all the best lenses, they are the best photographers, and
they are far from it.
And and just because you go out and get yourself into crippling debt where you have, debt collectors chasing after you, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're any better photographer than a guy that's using a 200 600 Sony.
Listen, right, I've only had one letter of warning, so they haven't knocked just yet.
It's that old phrase, though, isn't it? It's all the gear and no idea, so to speak.
Yeah, well, and do you know what, right? I find that 90% of these blokes, do you know what, right? All the female wildlife photographers I know, I don't know a single bad female wildlife photographer. They're all fantastic. So it's all the blokes who have just retired. So it's all them. Every single one of them has just got their because their pension back in the day was fantastic. And right, again, I know some locally and worldwide that are like unreal photographers. But I think the ones that all three of us cross paths with, the ones that have just retired, they can get whatever they want because they don't have their kids have left the nest, and obviously trying to keep on topic with the wildlife puns there. Kids have fledged and stuff, and they've just got this money, and because they've got this Nikon Z9 with a 18 grand lens, however much they paid for it, and that they just have the right to kind of
belittle other people's.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and I've very much proven, like I say, I'm not saying I'm a fantastic photographer or anything like that, but I've very much proven that I've got gear that costs a quarter of what they've spent, and I truly believe my images. Same with obviously Chris. You look at your images, and Dan, you look at yours. And we compare it to these specific type of people that like to shit on others, and say that our images are actually better. That have a bit of self pride, and that's what makes it easier for me when these people give you a bit of grief. Is I look at their image, I look at mine, I think, I ain't got anything to worry about.
Yeah, there's an
And
old.
I always just think to
saying
myself,
that
see when the day does come. See when the day does come that I can, the day does come that I can go out and get a 600 f4 or 400 2.8. At least then I know that I've put in the graft behind it.
You've earned it. You've worked
exactly.
I've earned it, yeah. And you've managed to deal with crap light and having to use slower shutter speeds and higher ISOs and whatever else just to achieve the results that we can achieve. And I like you guys said, I mean, it's not that I hate the whole competition aspect with photography. It's not a competition, but when you do see these guys that are like, oh well, I've got this, I've got that, and yet you're sitting in the same height as them and achieving as good, if not better, results with let's be honest, less superior gear. It does speak volumes. It's
100%. It's definitely a class thing. It's definitely a money thing.
Oh, gear snobbery within photography has been something that's just will go on for the end of time.
Oh yeah.
People
will
always think that they need to have the best gear in order to stay one step ahead of the game. But
do you know what, actually? I think in 20 years' time, I reckon that'll be completely different, because the folks that I like it now are the guys that, because obviously wildlife photography it's a relatively new hobby in the grand scheme of it. You got to look at when cameras we're only probably 50 years kind of into, probably not even that, into the hobby. And in 20 years' time, you've got to think a lot of these guys that grew up with it, obviously not in a morbid way, but they're all going to be 6 feet under. And all those guys who are still young and kind of respect how you wear in your gear, we're going to be then the, not inferior, but what's the word I'm thinking of?
It completely flips on a head. It'll be a completely different approach to things,
Well, yes,
we'll sit there and we'll welcome the people that might, may have lesser gear than ourselves, but we know that it can produce just as good, if not sometimes better than, the stuff that we've currently got, or the top of the range stuff.
Or we'll then be the rich old bastards that leave them on those.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
mean, I prefer that. Actually, do you know what? Sod it.
Yeah,
we are for the next.
By that point in our lives, we'll just be like, fuck these kids, fuck them. It's we're in charge.
Screw them all. We've had a lifetime of misery from the old folks. It's now our turn. Do you know what? Right? I feel like I'm only about 3 years off that as well myself. Obviously, not being rich, but all that entire conversation has just come from you mentioning that 300 PF.
Yeah, I know. I know. What were we moving on to? Because that was you asking me about like really how I got into wildlife and camera gear and stuff. Because I know Corey tried to jump ahead to the Goshawks, but we were kind of taking back to the beginning.
He just wanted to cut you short, Chris. He just wanted to cut you short.
I did not.
You'd be the first.
Do you a disservice.
Do you know, right? You're Scottish. You're an automatic 10 in my book. I want to sit and talk to you all night long.
Name the top 10 things that are great about Scotland.
Chris, and haggis.
There we go.
And Goshawks.
Goshawks. And then
leading quite nicely on
to Pine Martin Hards.
Oh, well, Pine Martins as well, yeah.
So I like to throw a name around, Chris. I like to, if I speak to people about you, I like to throw the name Goshawk King around. Now, I don't want to mention it too much because your head might not get out of your door to go to bed, but where did it all begin? Because me and Corey were talking about this earlier, and we said you don't just stumble upon a goshawk, or maybe
you go for a walk through the woods and just go, look, there's a hide and a goshawk there. Brilliant. What have I fallen upon here?
Yeah. Where did it all start?
So as I say, I moved up the gear and I ditched all the other nonsense of photography. So I wasn't interested in doing wire rule spinning or any of that crap anymore. And I'd focused purely on the wildlife aspect. And I'd had a few hide setups around about the village. Just little things I'd thrown together, sheds and bits I'd thrown together with sticks and whatever else. Things that you don't need an expensive hide, like we've said. You just need something that is functional. The issue I found with all of these was they were too close to humans. And quite regularly I'd be sitting in the hide and people walking in and whatever else. So now the goshawk hide is going back, probably the conception of it was 5 years ago at least. I spend a lot of time on Google Maps. I'm forever researching areas and species and possible areas that possible species might be in. It's one of these sad things I do, but I think it certainly helps me get results. So I found this area on Google Maps, and from the map I thought, oh God, that looks like a nice clearing. I could maybe head up there some evening with the camera, with maybe with the throw over hide and sit there and have a look. And I went up, found this lovely clearing. Sun was streaming through it, and there was a couple of roe deer walking through, and I thought, God, that's be a brilliant spot for a hide. And I think I left it for more than about a year or so, and then I finally decided, right, I'm going to go and start looking at this location. So it was further out of the village, but it wasn't as if I had to hike miles to get to it. It's a five or so minute drive out of the village, and then I wander into the forest to where this clearing is. I started putting up some feeders, just a couple of feeders in the trees, peanuts, sunflower hearts, whatever else it may well be. And I started putting up some trail cameras. Other wee disclaimer in here just now. Be careful, ladies and gentlemen, where you're putting up trail cameras, obviously with GDPR and stuff like that. There's certain landowners don't want you having trail cameras up. Lesson I learned the hard way, okay? So
we'll go on to that. I want to hear that hard way.
Yeah,
after we talked about that.
Absolutely.
We'll get on to that. So anyway, trail cameras up, and within days, I mean, I'm speaking days. This is how lucky we are up here. So within days, pine martens, badgers, woodpeckers, loads of wee birds. Great, fantastic. So as I continued to feed the area, continued to top up the feeders, check the trail cameras, this was going on. I'm speaking months and months and months of prep work. I had a pop-up hide there. I would keep an eye on stuff. I was up there with floodlights and stuff, trying to get the pine martens, all this. But one thing that struck me as quite strange about it at the time was no squirrels. Now, I don't know what, obviously up here, red squirrels, I could literally put a feeder box anywhere around this village, and I would say within a week, there'll be squirrels at it. I mean, that's how many of them we have up here. We're very, very lucky. But there was no squirrels, and I always thought that was quite strange. So I continued to feed the area, and then I had an idea. I was going to build this little hide there. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, please ask the landowner's permission. But I started putting up this little hide, pallets, made out of pallets, offcuts of wood, things that came out of skips, basically. And the first mention of goshawks was actually when my father-in-law was up with me helping out put the hide together. And he's been a keen birder all his life, loves his wildlife. And when we were up in the woods that day, he turned around to me and he says, "You know something?" He says, I think this would be a good area for goshawks." And I just kind of looked at him and I'm like, no.
Way, no.
You never ever imagine. You never imagine that you're going to get goshawks. You just think, no. I didn't really believe him. Didn't really think much more of it. So fast forward a wee bit, blah 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 blah. I'd had the hide for maybe 2 years, set up 2 years. I'd started getting squirrels in by this point, so I'm thinking, okay, I've got squirrels again. I'm getting pine martens, badgers, squirrels, woodpeckers, jays, all sorts of lovely wildlife. The odd sparrowhawk would come through, which was a treat. And I remember the day, not the exact date, but I remember it was November 2019, and it was a right frosty day, and I was up in the hide myself. And I'd been putting out pheasants and rabbits and whatever else to try and attract the buzzards in, because I was aware there was buzzards, but I was trying to attract them in. And I remember the forest just falling completely silent. And I initially thought, oh, sparrowhawk probably. So I'm sitting perfectly quiet, and then all of a sudden I heard this noise, and I knew immediately I knew it was a goshawk. That.
It's a very distinctive call, isn't it?
Oh God! I mean, I always say to people, it's like if you imagine a mixture between an eagle and a chicken.
Yeah, well, it is. I've heard it once, and it was the weirdest bird of prey call I've ever heard. It was so compared to buzzards and stuff, anyways.
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously a buzzard's more a mew kind of noise. Sparrowhawk's quite a high pitched squeal, but with a goshawk in here, if you want to soundbite this, I always say it's like a pretty good impression, if I do say so myself.
That's spot
on. That's the noise, and and I knew it was close. It was so close, and I could actually, you guys haven't been to the hide, but I've got a nighthawk netting on the front of the hide, and I looked out the side, and I could see this goshawk sitting in the tree up at my right hand side, just a great big light coloured chest, and it looked huge. It looked just massive, and I felt myself starting to shake straight away. I was shaking.
The adrenaline.
I was just about to say, I can't even begin to imagine the feeling of seeing that.
I mean, the thing is, the fact that I was there myself, and I was the first one to hear this, and then I was just praying for it to come down, and the whole thing, it felt like it lasted an hour, but it was literally about 30 seconds from the forest going silent, hearing this call, and then I spotted it, and it literally it turned around, and like they get called the Phantom of the Forest, it literally disappeared. It turned, went into the trees, and disappeared. And like straight away, I was texting people, WhatsApping the group of friends that helped me out with the hide. I was messaging the father-in-law, and like you're thinking to yourself at that point in time, nobody's going to believe me. Nobody's going to believe me. Like very few people see goshawks. And I just thought, nobody's going to believe that I had one in at the hide. And that was the last I saw one until I believe it was around about April 2020. Obviously, 2020, we all know what happened in 2020, COVID and whatever else. So the hide took a wee bit of a backward step that year, initially that year, because I wasn't able to get out there. I wasn't able to top up the feeders as much as I'd like. I wasn't able to put out the feed for the buzzards, goshawks, whatever. But I had moved a trail camera right next to the perch that I did put stuff out at, and I'd cycled out one day as part of my hour-long exercise.
Hour,
yeah.
Obviously. Stick to it.
It only took me half an hour out and half an hour back. That's fine. I changed out the SD card and the trail camera, and when I got it back home and plugged it in, there we have it, goshawk on camera. And that goshawk that we saw then was our main female, so the one that now holds the territory.
Was that moment that you saw it on the trail camera actually feeding? What was better, that moment then, or the moment that you saw it in the tree?
I think the moment that I saw it feeding for me was probably better because I knew that it had come back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like the first one could have just been a one-off and I might have never seen them again.
Literally flying through kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, we will get on to the contentious issue of putting out feed for birds of prey. I know it is always a contentious issue, but anyway, so this all carried on, and as I say, 2020, as it rolled on, we got to the end of 2020. By this point in time, I'd managed to keep the hide stocked up. I moved a few perches, and we did see that female goshawk several times over the winter, so 2020 into 2021. We saw her several times. So, like, I would be walking up to the hide and you'd just see her taking off through the trees or disappearing, and you'd catch odd glimpses of her on the trail camera. So it was, oh God, when would it? Was it April? April, I think. And I'd been up to the hide, so April 21, I'd been up to the hide just to top up feeders on my way into work. And I'd sat for 10 minutes. And as I was sitting there, I could hear the goshawks calling in the distance. and buzzards had been coming in quite regularly onto the feeder post, and the goshawks. Everything just felt like it was starting to pick up. So I'd messaged one of my other mates, and I says, "Look, I'm at work the next few days, but if you want to go into hide, it'd be a good idea to get in nice and early, and you never know." So the next morning, I'm at work, and just after 9 o'clock, I get a message, and all it said was "goshawk," and I'm looking at the message, and I'm going, "Yep, what? Heard, seen, photographed, what?" And then next, boof, he sends me through a photograph, and off the back of his camera, and this was by my mate Davey Main, and he sent me this image, and although I was like, "Oh my God, goshawk," the first thing that went through my mind was it was a male, and we had only, up until that point in time, we had only seen the female, and we were only aware that we had a female. So when we saw that, and we're thinking, right, wait a second, we might have a breeding pair here. And I wasn't, again, Davey was going on to me, and he's like, "Oh, I feel bad because I photographed them first," and I saw it, and you know what? I did not care. I did not care, because
just the moment of knowing that somebody's actually managed to catch it.
I mean, that was it for me. It was the fact that I'd put in these, at that point in time, years of work to get to that stage, that we had managed to see a goshawk like that. I mean, you guys know it. A lot of your listeners will know it. This doesn't happen. There's like,
even for Scotland, goshawks are rare. I mean, they are like you said, a phantom of the forest kind of thing. They're just, well, maybe not as rare. I mean, obviously the numbers are low. They aren't like your buzzard and sparrowhawks, but
no.
So
elusive is more the word. I mean,
yeah.
I can't remember the last time in fact, I don't think. Just trying to rack my brain. I don't think I've ever seen one or ever even heard one. There was one around my local area about 5 or 6 years ago, but that was an escapee from a bird sanctuary, which I'm sure, and this is gonna, I don't care, but I'm sure the person who took the photograph will be listening to this. They tried to pass it off as a wild bird, but Photoshop the Jessies out. And you know who you are, and you caused a lot of people to come searching around my local moors. So
I don't want
good.
I'm not trying to defend that type of behaviour. but the thing is, the majority, or certainly a huge amount of the goshawks that we now have in the UK are as a result of falconers either release. Well, no, not even escaping. A lot of falconers would purchase 2 goshawks. A lot of them would purchase 2 goshawks. They would release one and they would keep one. And so we have, birds that were released, birds that escaped, and we also have some birds that we believe have come across from Europe as well. So it's, a lot of the birds will have come from falconer stock, which is, we've got them to thank, I suppose, for it. But you're right with the numbers thing. I mean, again, this is very, very lucky of where I live, but we do have good numbers of goshawks in the Murray area, but they are just so elusive. And I've heard them in forests before. I've seen them this time of year, around about February, March time. You may well see them flying above the canopy, doing courtship flights and stuff like that. So, I've seen them in the past, but I think to have achieved what we achieved by managing to get images, well, they speak for themselves. You guys have seen the images, not just mine.
They're just absolutely surreal. Like, you can't, like I said, they're a bird of prey. I mean, I've seen them. I've seen 3 in my life, and I can name each occasion as well. Up in Hawes in North Yorkshire, one flew over. On the Isle of Mull last year, one flew in front of our cottage, and then 2 days ago in Blair Gowrie, one flew over. So I don't want to. I don't know if you're going to say this or not, but I do want to ask. So obviously you spent a lot of time getting to that point. Do you think, I mean, this is what I think anyways, that the reason why they are actually breeding and regularly coming to your hide now is because of the hide in the first place, because of the regular food and because of the location, and because the male's now coming for the female who's now feeding at your hide, and they've stayed in that area because they know the food is there? do you reckon that as a massive contributing factor to the reason why you've now got the chicks coming down every year and they're now nesting nearby?
Certainly, I don't think it's hampered them in any way, shape, or form. When the female first came in about, she was still in her juvenile plumage. I know several guys that work for forestry. I know guys that go out ringing goshawks. So I know there are goshawk nests in the area, but further away from the hide. But this female, I think this female probably has set up. The habitat is outstanding. We don't know where the nest is for this female, which is, I've had a scheduled one ringer come up and look for the nest. Even he can't find the nest.
The thing is that you don't want to actively continuously search for it as well. In case
no,
you do disturb them.
And to be honest, with you, it doesn't matter to me where the nest is. There's about a mile from the hide. There's this great big valley with larch trees that are, God, they're so dense and thick and huge larch trees. I'm 99% sure that she's over in that direction. But to get on to the feed aspect, I never started putting stuff out for goshawks. I put stuff out because I was aware of buzzards hovering over the clearing and circling over the clearing. The fact that they are predators, they hunt their own food, but they use what we put out as a supplementary food source. If you follow my pages, you'll see that this has been a constant bugbear of mine, because you get these individuals that are forever having a go at you about putting out food for birds of prey.
As long as it's done respectively, obviously you'll explain this.
The thing is, you cannot judge everybody under the same circumstances. Goshawks have been heavily persecuted across the entire of the UK to the point that they were pretty much extinct, right? Now, just because my name isn't the correct name, and I am not associated with the correct organisation or foundation, let's say, that all of a sudden what I'm doing is wrong. And, I do believe that what we are doing is helping these birds of prey out. We now have, I think last year we had at least 4 different adult birds come in throughout the summer, possibly 5. There's a rogue male goes about as well. And then at the tail end of the summer, our resident pair who hold the territory, they had 3 chicks come in. So we had between 7 or 8 goshawks all come in over the period of the summer.
Compared to a couple of years prior to that, where you was getting none.
Yeah, well exactly. And now those certain birds, we've got to know individuals. So various markings on them, the sizes of them, their behaviour, their general behaviour. This has turned from an opportunity to photograph an amazing species to almost a research project. It's unbelievable, the stuff that we have seen and experienced. And I was forever seeking advice from alleged experts on this subject. And the things we've seen and experienced have went completely against what they've said or what they would expect to see.
You can't predict nature, and this is one thing I learned at university and stuff like that, and even my time being out there. You might have this, again last week, just because you're an expert, it doesn't apply to everything. And one individual could, it's the same in absolutely in everything. So when I was had the buzzards coming down at our hide last year and stuff like that, and we were the same. Only on the trail cam footage, we learned to observe the behavior pattern, because the male and female were so similar in color bar and a few little markings that to people that don't always come down might not tell the difference. And just by watching the behaviors of how one would fly in first, have a little go, and then make a certain call, and then the other one would fly in, and vice versa, by watching stuff like that, you really, people assume birds are stupid, they've got small brains and so on, and blah blah blah, and they're not intelligent. And I think birds of prey specifically are a huge exception to that. And that's one thing. Last year on your Instagram, when I've won that data come up to your hide and stuff like that, I was absolutely buzzing. I remember when I found out as well, I was me, my partner, and the kids were in the park, and I checked my Instagram because you tagged me in something, and I was like, that's weird. I don't really chat to you that much. What have you tagged me in? And I'd look, and it was your story saying that I'd won. I was like, fuck, yes, I'm buzzing.
In fact, I think you messaged me.
I messaged you straight away, and I was like, I can't believe it. And do you know what, right? It wasn't because I know, like you mentioned about Ian Howell's hide. I know if I really wanted to go photograph goshawks just to photograph them, I could go down to Ian Howell's because it is a fantastic hide. We've seen the photos.
Oh, fantastic.
It's brilliant. He does a really good job. I think for me, it was the fact that I could go spend the day, obviously, potentially, we don't know if it's going to turn up or not, observing a bed that you're, like, I would say on this bed, this main female specifically, you're probably an expert on in using that, maybe use that term a bit lightly, but watching how you've picked up her behavior and you know all this, you know exactly who's coming in, you know that which chicks are hers and all these behavior traits. For me, it was sharing that same passion, and I like to go up and just watch that and just learn about this bird that's been on my Instagram for 2 years and that I've just seen all the time. That was the biggest thing for me. I was like, I can't believe I get this opportunity to do that. And obviously other people that I visited probably feel, obviously some of them are coming because I want to, I'm like, again, for me, for example, to photograph a goshawk, who's going to turn that opportunity down? You'd be a bloody idiot to do so. But yeah, I mean, 100%, it was the experience of seeing this famous bird from social media and from your profile. That was the most enticing part for me, and hopefully I get the opportunity, like I say, and who knows what's going to happen. Obviously we'll probably touch upon that in a few minutes. But I mean, going back to what you just said about the feed and stuff like that, like I believe 100%, and like I say, this might just be my opinion, but 100% the work that you have done is the main reason, especially when you gave us that information that she was in a juvenile plumage when she first came in, because like most birds of prey, when juveniles leave the nest and go find their own territory, they can be doing it, they can go from place, they could be 400 miles away from home, like the white-tailed sea eagles that move from Mull to other parts of the country. The fact that she stayed there, you've got all these males coming through, obviously looking for a mate and things like that. And goshawks do use the same nest for years. So I think that by you giving them that supplementary diet of whether it's a small amount, whether it's a pheasant or a quail or a squirrel, whatever it is, and allowing her to still hunt, her having that peace of mind, knowing that when she does have chicks, there's that little bit of food when you've got the really harsh Scottish winters, which does happen, quite like last year, the storms. That work, I reckon, is 100% responsible for the fact that they are still breeding there and still.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I completely agree. You look at a lot of, and I'm using inverted commas at the moment, commercial hides. I think, you know, the work they put into giving back to wildlife in their area, sometimes, yes, to benefit them financially.
There's nothing wrong with that, though.
There's nothing wrong with it. You know, put the work they put back. I mean, you know, shout out to Alan at Scottish Photography Hides and, you know, Tom Robinson down in Lincolnshire. You know, the work that they've done has enabled so many species to thrive during the harder times. And, you know, when people, you know, spam the keyboards to me saying, oh, baiting wildlife is cheating, this, that, and the other, it's only the same as you putting out peanuts and birdseed in your garden. You know,
I mean, exactly. I mean, you're like this argument that you get all the time, like, oh, it's cheating and it's this, that, and the next thing. And like, if I had wanted to, and if I had been of that type of mind, right, I've had people from all over the UK offer me ridiculous amounts of money to come and photograph these birds. Now, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, sir, I've been to Alan McFarren's, you know, I've been to quite a lot of these commercial hides, and I have absolutely no issues with commercial hides at all. They have their place, and that's, you know, it is, some of the work they do is fantastic. But it is never ever, for me, it has never ever been about making money. It's been about, you know, being able to help this wildlife. And in the process, yeah, okay, a photograph's a bonus.
You know, you get a couple of photos, but at the end of the day, it's,
there's nothing wrong with that. You've put the work in. Exactly. You have, I think, out of everybody as well, because of the morals that you're obviously displaying, the fact that it isn't a commercial hide, you've definitely earned it 100%.
Because, like you say, you could quite have easily have charged, God knows how much.
Charged 250 quid a go.
People are paying.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's be honest. It's like it's the unicorn. It's the unicorn, and, you know, I know. Having spoken to Alan McFarren about it, I mean, he's tried off and on for years, and he's had issues with, you know, landowners and various things. But I mean, you know, Alan, as far as I'm concerned, Alan's Dr. Doolittle. You know, he's the guy I look to. He's the guy I look to and go, how the hell does he do that?
You want
And
a
how-
species? He's the guy.
Oh
for
yeah,
it.
I mean,
Oh,
you know, how does
100%.
he do that? And when you mentioned Alan there, I was quite glad you mentioned Alan, because I thought about this earlier today in case this topic came up. And I remember listening to Alan on another podcast a couple of years back, and he faced the same sort of criticism with the Kingfishers. Obviously, there's the, okay, whatever. There's the tank issue. There's the whatever it may well be. But he said, and I can't remember the exact numbers, so obviously paraphrasing a wee bit, but on this stretch of river that he'd started looking after the Kingfishers, there had been X amount of Kingfishers, say, I don't know, say 3-4 pairs. And by the time he had put in the work over these years, there was over like 20 pairs, and the river was thriving. Now, this is what I don't see why certain people don't understand. That's what I'm trying to do with the goshawks. I mean, this female has had 2 breeding years, and in her second breeding year, she had 3 chicks.
Exactly.
Now, the fact that she had 3 chicks successfully fledged in her second breeding year, she would, the experts told us she'll disappear. She'll go to the nest. You won't see her again until the chicks come off the nest, blah, 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 or whatever. She was regularly coming in and out of the hide when she should have still been at the nest. Now, she knows that if her male is not taking her enough food, taking enough food for the chicks, she knows I can nip off the nest, nip to that location, have a quick bite to eat, be back to the nest, and she will be in a better position to provide for her children, to provide for her chicks. The males know that they can go, they can hunt, they can bring something back to the nest, they can leave something in the nest, and then instead of having to go and hunt for themselves and waste energy, they come to the hide, they have a quick bite to eat, and then they get on with the job again. So the male is then in better condition to do his job as well.
They reckon there's about 400 roughly breeding pairs of goshawk in the UK. So that's the general UK. Let's say Scotland, probably the better location for that. 200 breeding pairs in Scotland. You've got a female coming through, probably breeding with various different males as well, not the same male each year. She'll probably have, let's say, 2021, she's had 3 chicks to 1 male. 2022, she's had 3 chicks to another male. This year, she's got 3 chicks to a third male. Not only are you providing a habitat for them to contribute to that population, which is growing massively each year, you're also giving her the opportunity to have a different gene pool as well. Obviously, genetics within wildlife is massive, and by having, you don't want, if you're going to contribute to the population, having that, like, obviously, let's look at red deers, for example, and stuff like that. They there's a lot of culling done, and certain parks have a certain number of males to keep the genes different, to make sure there's no interbreed or anything like that. So obviously then you're then providing a safe, like you've just said, that male can come in, drop off some food, come get a bite to eat, and so can the other males. That's giving them the opportunity to keep the genes the strongest they can be by adding different individuals in there. Because I mean, let's look at humans, for example. Most of us stick with the same one for the rest of our lives, and kids of nowadays, in my area especially, the dads could have probably done, or the mums could have probably done with a finding a new mate. And we need to look at wildlife as an example for that. Get a different woman every year. But no, I think another side to look at it is on the scientific and the evolutionary side of it. Is you're contributing massively to a bird that the numbers are 400 pairs across the UK, considering the size. And look at buzzards, there's probably 400 pairs in bloody hell, the north or east, in the northeast Scotland alone of buzzards. And then you look at goshawks.
It has such a positive impact.
It's a domino effect.
It is. It has such a positive impact, and like you mentioned, Chris, about Alan and the work he's done there. I mean, Corey will agree. I think we'll get Alan on the pod at some point, and we can chat all about the conservation. And Tom Robinson again down in Lincolnshire.
I love Tom's work, especially with the Dyke hide.
Wildlife photography hides. If you just want to, listeners want to check that out and stuff. But the work he's done with the kingfishers, building the artificial nests. I mean, we all know how much kingfishers can struggle during hard summers and hard springs when flooding destroys their nests. The minks, they'll go in there, destroy nests, eat chicks, and the work that he's done is fantastic. I think the time that I went down to photograph the chicks in the burrow while they were getting,
which is a fantastic photo. I'm very jealous of that photo.
I remember that one. Yeah.
They, and he'll probably correct me if he's listening, but I believe he had 2 separate broods that year where there was 6 chicks apiece. So that's 12 kingfishers out into the wild.
That could be within that area. That could be an additional 250% on the population. Just them just them 12 chicks alone.
So feeding. It's not necessarily baiting and cheating. It's helping the local wildlife. As a whole.
We mentioned these blokes as well before the podcast, and this is where we get into the part where we don't name any names. So we mentioned these people that have a hide and they whack a real nice fancy shed in the back garden. They get all these people down, they charge whatever they want, and they're just doing it for money. Their morals are completely wrong. But on the flip of that, they don't even realise they're doing this because they're that far up their own asses that they wouldn't care. They just think themselves as a top photographer, but they're also doing the exact same thing. So that's why I think there's not a single commercial hide within the UK, however poorly, unless they're like you get these tank shots where the kingfishers breaking their beak, but any of these kind of general hides where they're putting a bit of food out, the wildlife's coming in, they're going off, or they're creating a bit of a habitat for them, regardless of whether they're doing that for the money, the popularity, or for the nature, every single one of them still serves that same purpose within
100%. And I mean, going back to your tank shots, that it's something that I had an argument with a good friend about years ago. Not a friend now, but kingfishers diving into tanks, yeah, it's frowned upon. And maybe I'll get a load of crap for this, but I'm gonna just chuck out my opinions. Kingfishers dive into much shallower water out in the wild, and they can judge depth and fine. It's like they accused me of killing the kingfishers because I went to a diving kingfisher location, which yes, used a tank. I'll openly admit to it, but it's one of these things. It's the argument I used for them. I asked them two questions. I asked them, show me a photograph, because I've never seen photographic evidence of this happening.
So I've just seen Chris just disappear.
Yeah, for the obviously this is an audio-based podcast, but for everybody who's listening, we've got Chris on video here.
Even though we've told him he didn't have to be on video.
Even though he just wanted to.
I've just seen the back of Chris's head in his door.
He's legged it.
He's gone.
Which is a sign of things to come.
No, it's time to slag him off.
Yeah.
No, it's been really good. Do you know what? This is so interesting. Again,
whilst Chris is not here and we can blow smoke up his ass, it's been cracking so far. It's been
it's coming back.
Hang on. Anyway, back to kingfishers diving. Yeah, they dive into much shallower water in the wild. Welcome back.
I mean, going on you always get all the things you get with the kingfishers. I mean, it's obviously slightly different with the goshawks, but you still get all these people trying to point out various things, and like these birds are still wild. They don't, if I was to step out of the hide, that bird's get to take off. So they're not getting used to people, right? There's the argument that, oh well, you're putting out food, they're going to become reliant on it. Well, no, they don't, because we know the individuals that come to the hide, and sometimes you won't see a certain bird for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So that bird is clearly hunting for itself. The other one, I mean, the other one. What's the other one? One of the other ones we get is, oh well, by you putting out bait, you're altering their behaviour. And I said, well, you're not altering their behaviour, because a sparrowhawk, like any other species, any other animal, a sparrowhawk will always take an easy meal. A goshawk, will always take an easy meal.
Opportunists.
Now, they're opportunists. So by me having it in a safe environment, rather than them going down beside a road and getting hit by a car, rather than them finding something that's been left out by, let's just say, a gamekeeper, not all, that's been poisoned. So by doing what I'm doing, I know that the stuff I'm putting out is safe. I know that it's in a safe area. They're not going to come to harm. They're not going to get injured, and it's not changing their behaviour. They will eat carrion. That's what they do.
They could literally get up and fly off and never come back, and they would not care. Like you've just said about an easy meal. That's what every single wildlife, apart from, I don't know, koalas who eat a plant that drugs them, but every single especially carnivores, for example, it's tough over winter, especially in that it's such a tough time of year for them. I mean, we're the same. If I don't know, let's say we all go to work, right? We all have to work for a living. We don't enjoy doing it. Somebody came up to you and said, "Here's £100 million. You're not going to go, no, I want to go work and continue with these
You're gonna
social
take it. You're gonna take the easy money.
You're going to take it. And just while you mentioned obviously about safe place and stuff like that, I think that the biggest kind of example I can relate to on that is when I was a zookeeper. Obviously, you'll all know zookeepers get a lot of criticism from organisations like PETA, which obviously, quite frankly, a bit of a joke of a company. But
there goes any future brand deal. Yeah,
do you know what, right? I would rather.
This could be a dangerous night for you guys.
Yeah, we've just lost all potential, opportunities to make money. Yeah,
we're not in it for the money. We're in it for the good banter.
Oh, sorry, yeah, we're not in
it.
But as a zookeeper, I mean, I get all the time. Oh, you've got an animal in a cage. It's doing this. It's doing that. And I'm thinking, all right. So my Asian palm civet, when I was a zookeeper, we had an Asian palm civet called Percy. Right, he wasn't force-fed coffee and put on a table in Indonesia or whatever. I'm going to sound like the world's worst zookeeper. I can't remember off the top of my head. In Asia, for people to take their poo and make the world's most expensive coffee out of it, and sedated and made a mockery of. He was in a safe environment. He was given enrichment. He was given food every single day when he needed it. He was given a healthy mix of food. So there was fruit, there was veg, there was insects, there was chicks, there was a nice healthy mix. Same with the parrots, same with the reptiles and things like that. Same with your goshawks. That bird and that civet and your goshawks and kingfishers, they are all much better off for us providing that safer environment for them, because, to be honest, the only reason why they need that safe environment is because of us in the first place.
This is, I mean, we are singing off the same hymn sheet here. I mean, I am a great believer in the fact that, as humans, we have interfered to the point that we now have no choice but to interfere. We've interfered so badly that we have to almost do stuff now.
We have to continue interfering, but for the right reasons.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I just can't. For the life of me, I can't understand why anybody would think that what I'm doing or what Alan or Tom or any of these guys are doing can be a negative. It doesn't make sense,
though, doesn't it?
Well, it's jealousy. There's a massive amount of ownership.
I think a lack of education, contributes quite massively to it. And it's what we spoke about. I can't remember, Corey, whether or not it was the episode with Andy or whether or not it was our first episode, but the lack of education can just, impact people's views and opinions on, what's deemed, and again, quotation marks, right and wrong.
All they see is Chris or whoever, Alan with his Golden Eagles, for example, which is unreal work. And obviously Goshawks, I think, are on the same level as Golden Eagles, in my opinion. Okay. People see them images and they think, I want that image. They don't see the work that goes in behind it, and
all the positives for the work as well.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. And
they make huge assumptions. Like the assumptions some people have made, it's just unbelievable. Like people saying to me, well, you must be right next to the nest. Well,
if he was right next to the nest, that bird would not be coming down, and there would not be a nest there.
I mean, I had that hide, like I've said when I was telling the story about it. Like I had that hide for more than 2 years before the goshawks came to us.
It was never an intention for goshawks. No, it's almost like you stumbled across them accidentally, really.
Yeah, I would like to claim that I'm some sort of, as you say, the goshawk king, and but a massive amount of this comes down to hard work and luck. And anybody that tries to claim otherwise about any of the wildlife stuff they do is a liar, plain and simple. It's hard work and a lot of luck,
And that's what goes into a lot of like Alan's Golden Eagles, for example. Obviously, I read his post on Facebook the other day, and Golden Eagles are. I mean, we was chatting. I think it was beforehand about our sightings of Golden Eagles, and they are always very brief little flyovers from maybe 100 meters above your head, and then they're gone. To have him putting that work in, driving to a remote location, going out and collecting roadkill deer. Obviously, that roadkill deer, like you've mentioned about the goshawks feeding at the side of the road, like we must have seen 3 or 4 dead deer at the side of the road with crows and buzzards picking at them, and cars tearing around the corner. If that buzzard gets spooked by a car, flies in the wrong direction, it's dead. So by providing that area, obviously with roadkill, you've always got to be careful on how it's being killed, but 9 times out of 10 or 99 times out of 100, it's safe to eat. And he's like golden eagles, for example. I think the amount of pairs in Scotland now. I'm going to quickly Google this.
But while you're googling that, it goes back to Chris talking about the conservation and how feeding can benefit pairs and breeding. Even if Alan was to never make any money from that, what he's doing is he's giving a safe, easy food source for them golden eagles to raise their chicks. And the pairs can soon, years down the line, I'm talking, but the numbers can increase because there's always a safe, reliable, consistent food source for them
so
during the hard times.
golden eagles are actually on par with goshawks. 400 breeding pairs roughly in Scotland. But again, the same with goshawks. Once a bird that was extremely common, obviously 400 years ago, and persecuted to the point of extinction. And it's taken a lot of money, a lot of intensive breeding programs, and reintroduction to the Highlands and the Cairngorms and stuff like that for them to come back. Same with the goshawks, obviously a lot of reintroductions and work put into them. So that work that's being put into them, that work that they're upkeeping, what's the issue with taking advantage of that, doing it safely and grabbing a few photos along the way?
Yeah, one of the major things, and like it's not obviously, yes, okay, we've got the conservation issue, which is, I mean, it's number one. It's number one for me. Number one is that I'm trying to help these birds, and I'm trying to help the wildlife in the area. That's always been number one. Yes, we get some images. That's great. But like you guys, and like so many others out there, this hide and other hides and other things that I've done as well, massively. And I know this is a subject that goes on, everyone goes on about nowadays. But the mental health aspect to spending time out in those hides is unbelievable. I mean, I've had Veronica that helps me out with the hide. Veronica works a lot with RAF veterans. I allow her to take RAF veterans up there, people that are struggling with PTSD and various things, and being out in nature, up at that hide, seeing the squirrels, seeing the birds and things like that. You can't kind of underestimate or overestimate how important that is. And the things that Alan does, you see like him posting these videos about golden eagles and the educational aspect, and what he's experienced and what I've experienced and what we can share with people is just unbelievable. I mean, I've had, oh God, I mean, I don't know how many now, but I've had so many parents get in touch with me, asking if their kids can come to the hide. And, their kids have come to the hide and for the first time to see a squirrel, or the first time to, whatever. And I've had a few that are obviously very, very keen wildlife followers that actually wanted to come and see the goshawks. And, here are kids that would have never had this opportunity.
You're inspiring the next generation.
Well, I don't like to think that I'm not all that. I'm not, but these little bits and pieces that I can do to help somebody or help a kid or help somebody that's been struggling with something, that means so much more to me than making money. And these individuals that have experienced it, their opinion matters far more to me than these, let's be honest, arseholes who as you say, sit behind a keyboard and make complaints to you about it. It really is. It's been the entire thing has been epic. It's been unbelievable.
That's the problem with humanity today as well. I think, especially, I mean, I've noticed it a lot within wildlife photography. I was very much the same for a long time. Is you care too much about what other people think, and it can inspire you to go around things the wrong way. And I said this last time. I meant the way I thought about stuff, and that maybe not so much jealousy, but caring too much. It can cause you to lose friendships and stuff like that. It can be bad, but then when you kind of get your mind right on track and you start doing stuff for the right reasons and you start seeing things for the right reasons, like you've just said about that mental refreshment and what you can do to help others, it can flip everything around massively, and it just takes a bit of digging around to kind of find that. And once you realize those friendships that you lost, or those friendships that you made or recovered or fixed, and your own kind of headspace, once you've kind of done all that, like you helping out these like the veterans and the younger kids and stuff, it just puts you in a lot better place about the full thing. Like, none of us get into wildlife photography, and I know we've said this on the last two episodes. You don't get into wildlife photography to make money, or you don't get into it to be famous. You do it because, like I said on Facebook the other day when I went to that mountain hares and walked up a mountain, something I haven't done for a long, like I've never done. And just to be out in nature and like you with your goshawks and Dan riding his broomstick, scoring points for Gryffindor, and
you were going so beautifully then, mate. You were going so, it was getting deep, it was getting meaningful.
Okay, so Dan with his, I reckon obviously your foxes, the work that you put into the foxes recently and stuff like that, and we've all got that one. Like for me, the place is Scotland. I absolutely love it up there. Like I say, I nag my partner all the time that we want to move up there, and luckily she has no choice. So yeah, having all of that and our own little thing to focus on, our own little thing that's important to us is well, it's the most important thing. Like I say, you focus too much on the keyboard warriors. I reckon if you would listen to these guys on the keyboard and stuff like that, you might not even have to hide now, because they might have made you feel that guilty about it, or maybe convince you that you was doing something wrong. You could have backed away from the full thing completely, and maybe those. As he says, is it each year she's had 3 chicks or just one?
No, first breeding year 1 chick. Last year was second breeding year, and she had 3 chicks last year. So
them 4 chicks, if you had quit that hide when she first came in before she had them chicks, she might not have. That might not even happened. And what you've done is you've contributed. I mean, I thought it might sound like a measly number for wildlife, but when you look at a species that's so threatened, by contributing that, you have no idea how successful those 4 chicks may be. Say if you've just say if she had 2 females and 2 males, you provided a really nice even mix of potentially breeding pairs, which could then go on each to have 3 chicks a year for the. I mean, I don't know how many years off the top of my head Goshawks are actively breeding for. Maybe like 5 or 6 years. So let's say over those.
I mean, I think there will be longer than that, especially if again they're one of these species that very much thrives on their environment. So I mean, if the environment is such that they're not getting into harm and they've got a plentiful food source and they've got good nesting sites, they can continue breeding on for quite a long time actually. So that's what it blows my mind that this juvenile female that's come in, I could continue watching her for 14 years or whatever. It's
and over those 14 years, let's say she does continuously, obviously during all the time she is sexually mature, because obviously like humans, she's going to get to a point where she doesn't breed. But let's say for 10 years from that first chick in 2019 or 20, did you say? Sorry.
2021 was first chick. 2022 was 3 chicks.
So say from 2021 to 2031, and each year she has. I mean, because they can have up to, I think, 5 chicks successfully.
I mean, it can be. But I mean, even if as you say, even if she just has 3 chicks a year,
that's 31 chicks you've provided, and them 31 chicks, they're going to go on and, especially males, for example. Obviously, males can breed with more. It's very known within birds of prey, or some birds of prey, where one male can have 3, especially with buzzards, for example, one male can have 3 or 4 active nests in the area with different females. It might not be buzzards actually, but anyway. But he.
No, we get where
what I'm trying to say is, but essentially,
things, they can go on.
You've snowballed it all out, and in 10 years' time, your one bit of work alone with that nest could contribute to 20% of the Scotland's goshawk population, which sounds a bit extreme, but then when you actually think about it logically and look at the scientific facts behind it, in 10 years for birds that scientifically and biologically have that urge to breed every single year, not like humans or whatever who just think, oh, do you know what, I've had 2 kids, I'm 17, I'm done, which obviously you'll agree with me, that's not a bad idea, but looking at it like, obviously wildlife is different to a lot of wildlife is different to humans anyways, is they do have that scientific and biological urge to breed each year, and if the male is there, if it's the only option, obviously you're very lucky that you've got quite a few males coming in, but you've just you've contributed a lot over 10 years. So let's say you do stay there for 10 years. These people that are behind the keyboard saying, oh, you shouldn't be baiting her, and say if you could somehow get a sheet with all that data on it and share them to that, I wonder if they'd still make the same comments then. That was a long way around for me to make that point. But
we get where you were going with it, and them individuals will be the ones that'll travel up to photograph them against the white sky, miles up in the air, and then you work there. I don't want to say you work there.
It's not about the photography, Dan. It's not about. Do you know what? Right?
They will. These people will be the first people to go up. Once they see a population increasing, they'll go up and they'll be trying to hammer photos. They will, because that's out of everything, that's all they want.
The only issue with this, or it might not even be an issue, but the way you could look at it, if it could be obviously two sides of a coin, is you increasing the population could then create a lot more other people creating Goshawk hides. And then there's kind of two ways that you could look at is one person might get it wrong, completely put off the pair. They could result in them in death or stress, not breeding or whatever. But then say if 10 other people did it the same way as you, them 10 people are taking advantage of their bigger numbers by also then creating a safe habitat for a separate pair. And then that other person's creating, and like say, if you look at it in 10, 15 years time with people doing it the same way you are, the numbers, they could be bigger than they've been in a long time.
A domino effect.
Again, this is one of the other things. I have had this off of individuals before, and what if somebody copies, or what if somebody tries to copy what you're doing? I mean, well, just look at the commercial hides. Look at the commercial hides that we've got out there. You've got varying degrees of success, and some people get it right, some people don't. And at the end of the day, if I'm doing something that's positive, regardless of what anybody else does, what I'm doing is positive. I don't think there's any. I don't think there's any other way around it. I mean, what I'm doing is positive, and I cannot control what anybody else does. You can't control it. At the end of the day, you're still going to get people out there shooting goshawks and poisoning goshawks and stuff like that. So
just 3 weeks ago, there was 5 goshawks shot dead just outside Bury St Edmunds, and I think obviously it's awful to see, but you've contributed 4 chicks, and it kind of obviously it's a horrible way to balance it out, because it doesn't balance it out. We would much rather have that extra 5 adult goshawks than the 4 chicks, because obviously those chicks throughout their juvenile period, they're the most fragile they'll ever be. They've got length, everything for themselves. And I mean, the one good thing about up where you live is it is quite remote, and there's very, very, very high chances up in any part of Scotland that they're going to do that. But because they're still getting persecuted, we have to kind of rely on that work to do so. Like I said, there's 5 goshawks that were shot and killed. Yeah, it's a tragedy, but then 4 goshawks that you've successfully kind of contributed, I would say, again, some people might disagree, but I think contributed sort of balances it out in a way. If because those goshawks that were shot and killed, we don't know if they were at the end of their life, if there were 5 females, 5 males. They don't know anything about them. Whereas that that you've just brought 4 healthy chicks. Well, obviously not you've brought them in. I can't imagine you sat on a nest throughout April.
That's a sight. That is a sight.
And gagged up your haggis and stuff for them. But at least you know that those birds are at the beginning of their life, and they could go on to have a healthy 15, 20 years of breeding and populating the local area.
I mean, there is a reason as well why, there's a reason why that no one else in the UK really has this and does this. I mean, the thing is, like, I know people could say they could try and copy it, but I mean, like I say, the hard work aspect for a start. I mean, I was out all the time. Same idea. Well, certainly prior to bird flu, I was out all the time searching the roads, looking for pheasants and pigeons and rabbits and whatever else. And the hard work aspect alone is enough to put people off of trying to do this. But you also, you have to be in the right type of area. You have to be You have to be very, very lucky that there's a bird to get to come by that area and see what you're doing. I mean, it's if it was easy, there would be commercial goshawk hides all over the UK.
Same with everything. Like, I think if wildlife photography in general was easy, I mean, for me anyways, and for you two as well, you'll all agree, like, if you didn't have that aspect of hiking up mountains or spending 2 years putting a hide together or traveling to Wales for, obviously, how far away is Wales from you, Dan? 100 odd miles, 200 miles?
Yeah, about 3, nearly just under a 3-hour drive.
Exactly. If you didn't have all that, then it wouldn't be any fun for me. I wouldn't enjoy it. You just, like, say if I just racked up to my local park, across the road from me, very busy park, sat down, and a goshawk landed in front of me, and I did that every single day, I'd be like, well, fucking hell, this is boring. I want something different. I want the challenge. Obviously, there's a lot of photographers that thrive off the easiness of commercial hides, but
I mean, that's the thing, like, if I went out to that area, I found that area and I put something out straight away and the goshawk came in straight away, I'd still be like, wow, it's a goshawk, amazing. But the sense of achievement I have because of the amount of effort and work I have put in to get that is worth a lot more. And I know we don't want to start that argument about the commercial hide aspect, because they will always have their place. There are people who cannot do what we do. There are people who cannot physically walk up mountains. There are people who cannot physically carry a hide up into the bloody woods and spend hours and days and weeks and months doing what we do. So commercial hides will always have their place. But I just feel when I put in more work to do things, I feel a lot more rewarded when you get the results. I just think if you turn up to a ready-made area where the wildlife's just there, it's like, well, okay, well done, but where's the achievement in it as well?
I've just come back from Scotland, and I've just made a video about which I'll go on YouTube this week about the pine martens, and I went into a lot of it, like kind of detail into how elusive and how hard it is to find them. But at the same time, I am in a hide myself, which obviously it kind of.
But it doesn't. Hides don't make stuff easy, which is what I say.
No, because the wildlife still can't turn up. Like we spent hours there last year and didn't get a single glimpse of a pine marten. And yeah, you got it for 3 minutes, didn't you? But
do you know what? 3 minutes is better than no minutes. And
the thing is, the work that Mark and Sue put into that hide to get him in and stuff like that. And the thing is, they were the same as Chris. They set it up for themselves. And obviously, over time, like they don't advertise it. People just kind of come in, like people do it by word of mouth. But for me to photograph pine martens, it's not as if I can just get up in the morning and go spend a couple of days in the local woods for them, because there's none around here. We've got to make a 7-hour journey up north just to even have the opportunity to. And then it's relying on the fact that they've come out in the first place. It's understanding them. It's knowing how to behave when the pine martens are about, not to scare them off and ruin all their hard work. So with the goshawks, you can't just have bloody Justin Bieber blaring out your phone while the goshawks come in and give them a bit of a song and dance.
You're not doing well with your music at the moment, Corey, because I think last year you said you were listening to last episode you were listening to Taylor Swift. So
the last song I listened to actually was. Let me just quickly get some on my Spotify.
Justin Bieber.
No, it wasn't. It was
the WildTalk podcast.
No, it was The Many Faces of Dr. Hubert Malbec by Necrogoblicon.
That means nothing to me.
I'll send you it later on. But yeah, you've still got to understand how to behave around them. And the species around me, like that have gone out and put the work in for, like the buzzards at my old hide, or the adders at the site not far from me, where I've got on the bus for a 2-hour bus trip, because I don't drive, obviously. I've got a 2-hour bus, and then I've walked another hour to get to the site, and then it's an hour from getting to the site to the spot where the adders are, and it's sitting and waiting. And obviously, again, it's different to the 2 years of work, but without putting that hard work in, and without knowing kind of what you're doing and what the consequences might be, it's much more rewarding than, like you say, just turning up and grabbing a photo. And that's not saying anything about the people, like you just said, who physically cannot do it, because fair enough, they're turning up and it's all set up for them, but they don't have that advantage where they can walk up the mountain. And the hide owner has already, it's not as if no effort's been put in at all, because that hide owner who runs it, like Tom or you or Alan or Ian or whoever, has then still put all them years of work in for them people to enjoy, and that's the motive that they went in for. So it's still on that aspect. I mean, if somebody's perfectly kit, so let's say for example, Dan, every weekend you spent all day in a commercial hide, and that's the only wildlife photography you ever did, but you're more than perfectly capable, then I think you're crossing some sort of line. But for people, I've got a really good, I won't mention his name on here because I don't think it's fair on him, got a really good friend that I see at a few nature reserves who just cannot walk about. He has to, he's got a little electric bike, which I think is brilliant, and a little, I think he had a scooter last time, because he cannot get up and walk about, and he's still a fantastic photographer. And for him, for the commercial hides to be there for him to actually enjoy those opportunities is a bit of a godsend for him.
I think with a lot of the commercial hides as well, because I like the ones that I support and the ones I go to and the ones I'm quite happy to go to and part with my money. It's because I know they're not just in it for the money. It's these guys that I know are doing. I know they're trying to help the wildlife. I know they're trying to, and you know this by speaking to Alan McFarlane, by Sue and Mark, my friend Jackie up here that's got the Pine Marten hide as well. I mean, all these guys have put in massive amounts of work. They're doing it for the right reasons. Yes, they're maybe making a coin.
But how much money do they then put from that money? How much do they then put back into that area?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I know, and recently I just put up a post on Facebook and Instagram asking if people were willing to donate and help me out with my hides. Because I don't charge, I just anybody that comes to my hides, I just say, look, a donation towards some feed, or take a few bags of seed, or whatever it may well be. And I actually put out the feelers and see if people were willing to chip in. So I know how much these things cost. I know it's an expensive thing to do, but I wanted to keep doing it. So you know, and thank you very much to all those that have been.
So I saw the spotlight you got on the videos on Instagram, and you got a lot of help from that. It was
so,
really good.
You
to
know,
see.
I hold no ill will towards these guys doing commercial hides and even making a bit of coin off it, because I know that they are also doing it for the right reasons. And as I say, I'm quite happy to go along to Jackie's hide and give her some money. I've never been to Mark and Sue's yet, although I speak to Mark now and again.
100%. Do you know what the best part about their hide is?
Cake.
So, yes, and right. I've obviously recently, friends, family knows, I've had to change all my dietary needs and stuff like that because my body's decided it doesn't like a lot of stuff. And when we turned up on Friday, because Mark was really kind just to say, listen, you're in the area, nobody's in. Do you want to come down tonight and have a couple of hours in the hide to see the Pine Martins? And I was like, oh yeah, we'd love to. Thank you very much. Like, that proves that he's not in it for the money. Just by obviously, I get along with Mark really well, fantastic bloke. Got there and Sue said to us, what do you want me to bait for you? And I was like, oh, you don't have to, because I can't eat this now, I can't eat that. And she's like, no, don't worry about it. You tell me what you can and can't eat, and I will go down to the shops tomorrow morning and I'll buy it. And I was like, oh, honestly, don't. And do you want what? She went out, she got gluten-free, dairy-free ingredients and baked me flapjacks.
Nice.
And coffee all day long, and she even got me oat milk for my coffees and stuff like that.
I mean, I've heard the cakes are almost more famous than their wildlife.
The lemon drizzle cake. Oh,
the cookies she makes are just absolutely insane. But it goes back, Corey. They are probably the two most accommodating people ever. I mean, I get a stream of cups of tea, toast, all sorts of stuff from them.
All day long. Like, Mark was. Like, because obviously we'd spent a full day with the Woodland Bears last year, so coming down for the Woodland Bears this year was just more of an added bonus. And I could leave the hide and go chat to Mark and Sue and that, and I'd end up spending like half an hour chatting to them, and then I can see the thinking like, you've paid to come into the hide, and I'm thinking, yeah, but do you know what, right? The reason why I've paid to come to your hide and not somebody else's, not another unnamed Pine Martin hide up in the northwest Scotland. The reason why I've come to yours is because you're just two absolutely lovely, really, really nice people. Mark's funny, like, he's a really dry sense of humor, like, and do you know what? I get a message from him at least once a week of a screenshot of something or other going, have you seen that? Have you seen this? How funny is that? And it's just, like, I messaged him earlier on, I was like, obviously, I understand if you don't want me to, but I'm putting a video together on the Pine Martins that hard. Could I pinch some of your footage straight away? He was like, absolutely, yeah. He forwarded like 3 different videos and stuff like that. He was like, take what you want, pop it together and stuff like that. And obviously, I'm not going to claim it as mine, but having that hospitality and them going out of their way to make our day more enjoyable and our day more comfortable, and just to actually have a good chat and get along with them, for me, is worth much more than spending. I don't know, this other Pine Martin hard. He could offer me the day there for a tenner, and I would still not take it, because I know what he is as a person, and I know who he is, and obviously, Chris, you know firsthand on the. I don't want to go into it too much because it's not a place to kind of air our dirty laundry, but you go somewhere for the people. You don't go there for.
I mean, massively. I'll go back and support all these guys, because you know they're doing it for the right reasons. They're lovely people. One that I've not actually mentioned is Gordon at Aviemore Ospreys. I don't know if you guys have met him or been.
Not been, but I've seen.
I've not met him. I spoke to Neil McIntyre about his the work he does up there.
And Gordon is, again, I think the amount of work he has put in and the benefit he has had to those local ospreys around his area is just unbelievable. And if people are listening to this, you should know that the hotel where his site is are putting in planning to build lodges round about his wee loch-in, and he's obviously hoping this doesn't get put through. So if anybody wishes to voice their concerns, please do so to the relevant council, because this man has done so much work.
The good thing about Scotland as well is when something like that happens, people do voice together. So there were, I don't know if you will know this, Chris, but there was all the talks about Flamingo. Is that one of your wee ones? Is it?
Oh yeah, she's sneaking in quite quietly. So it's okay.
There was plans for Flamingo Land to be built up at Loch Lomond, destroying woodland that hasn't been touched ever, and people came together. I myself signed the petition and stuff like that. I still get emails through weekly now about the updates on it. And instead of Flamingo Land, they've now got the full new beaver projects there. That's because people have come together and they don't want that ruined. And that's another reason why I love going up to Scotland, is because the nature and the wildlife is what people go for. And I don't go up to Scotland to go to Flamingo Land. I live 40 minutes away. I don't want to go there.
But you'll find certainly up here, the majority as well, like interested in the wildlife, and you all want to get photographs and things like that. But it's the support on each other aspect as well. And to me, that's a massive part about my sort of journey with photography and wildlife and all these things. And like I help out other mates that have got hides. I help out other mates that have got setups. I'm always trying to, and likewise. I mean, I wouldn't have managed to do half the things I have without mates and stuff helping me out as well. So I think whenever there's something negative like that, if these individuals have been nice to you, and you, like I said, that they're doing things for the right reasons, everybody gets behind them, and kind of helps everyone out, I think. So that's
what you want. We have been chatting for nearly 2 hours now.
I was just about to say.
Let's get. I mean, literally, I think we probably could chat all night, because I think we're all very much very similar with our views.
On the same page with it all.
Yeah. And
I don't know if you want
experiences.
I don't know if you want to talk about it. Obviously, we mentioned, but do you want to quickly kind of, as comfortable as you are with it, just explain the issues that you've had recently with your hide, and make people aware that the work that you're putting in is not always appreciated.
I'll touch on it a little bit. Obviously, there was issues with the hide. I thought I was going to have to get rid of it. It was a bit of a discussion between me and the landowner, and there was no reason. There was no real reason given as to why they didn't want me having the hide there. Like anything they came to me with, I was able to basically point out that they were talking nonsense. They'd come and say, "Oh well." God, what the heck was it? Oh, you can't have a permanent structure. And I said to them, well, it's not a permanent structure. There's no foundations. It's just, it's literally just wooden pallets and bits of wood and everything thrown together. It's not a permanent structure. There's no foundations. And then they'd come back and they would say something else. It would be
back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, I struggle. I've almost blanked so much of it from my mind now, but it was back and forth for long enough. And then they came back to me, and eventually they basically, public liability as well. People could hurt themselves. And I pointed out to them that within this forest, there are still old forestry sheds made out of corrugated steel that people could cut themselves on. There's old car parts been dumped in the woods that people could trip on and break a leg, break an ankle. Yet they were worried about a wee wooden shed that was occupied, most days. And then they would come back, and I think they said, it was possibly environmental issues, whatever. So these things went back and forth. It feels like a constant battle. And then eventually I had to appeal it. I went through various local councillors and actually an MP as well. And it all seems to have calmed down.
That's good news to hear that. It's calming down for now.
It does all seem to have calmed down. Because I'm sort of flying under the radar. I'm not pursuing it as a commercial venture, as I've said. But because of the uncertainty with it, I wanted to have a second hide setup, and that's where I approached a few private landowners around the local area I stay in. One of which, again, at this point in time, he doesn't want me to really advertise the estate that I'm on. The sort of agreement I've got at the minute is that he wants me to come onto the estate, to explore the estate, advise them on ways that they can improve the wildlife on the estate, certainly make any recommendations to him. I'm allowed to, use areas of woodland, use areas of, rivers, streams, whatever it may well be. There's barns, I've got barn owls. There's so much opportunity, huge opportunity. And all they want in return at the minute is essentially use of some of my images and footage.
That's a very fair, very fair deal. I mean,
it's
their land. So
yeah, I mean, it's purely just to help them to sort of advertise the estate a wee bit more out with the standard sort of fishing seasons or whatever it may well be, so that they can get people to come in and stay in their rented properties. So, I'm in constant discussion with them. I think at some point in time, it may well even become an option that they get involved with it. We have spoke about this, and that people coming to the estate could possibly use that new hide. I'll tell you now, I've pretty much got everything that I have at the other hide, plus a few extras. The only thing I don't have is obviously the goshawks. However, I know where I am, I'm surrounded on 3 sides by areas that I know have goshawks.
You've done it once before, you could do it again.
You never know. I mean, as I say, you need the luck. But where this area of woodland is, there are 3 areas of woodland within a mile radius that all have goshawks in, and active goshawk nests, and I know this. So I'm in a very good area for it. I've had some extras down there as well, though. Like, I've never ever had foxes up at the goshawk hide, whereas I've had foxes coming in down at this one. And a woodcock in the last day, which was quite weird because
I love woodcock. They're such a cool little bird.
Yeah, it was so weird because it was like 25 meters from the hide, and it was just when I was walking away, I spotted something. I went to look, and then this woodcock took off. So it was quite cool.
Does it get used for? Is there any kind of shooting season, gamekeeping?
There is a shooting season, but that's obviously come to an end now.
That might explain the woodcock there, to be fair, because obviously they are.
I think it's just pheasant shoots they do in the estate, though.
See, the problem I found, especially with the land that I used, was we got told that the only bird they shoot is pheasant, and they did not know that I had one of the members of the shoot on my Facebook who was actively posting photos of them with duck, with woodcock, with foxes, with a lot of stuff. And I don't have anything to do with it anymore, so I have no problem saying this.
I have to, I have to take everything at face value with them. The estate owner is a fairly young chap. He inherited the estate a couple of years back when his father died, and he is very, very keen in his wildlife. He's very, very keen to promote the wildlife on the estate, and I'm massively grateful for the opportunity. And that's
sounds
why
like
I
just a lot of trust in them with the way they're being with you.
Yeah, certainly. But they've allowed me to erect a hide, which I have just put in last week. I painted today, so
It looks
still
brilliant.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. It's a wee bit of work still to do. I have to get camo netting, some more gimbal heads. But I'm changing some perches. I'm getting stuff set up. I know there's sparrowhawks nearby. I've already photographed sparrowhawks down there, so it's got a lot of potential. And I'm excited again. I had a wee spell kind of away from the photography aspect towards the end of last year. I kind of took a few months just to kind of regroup and
refresh the memory and refresh the
enthusiasm
motivation.
and get the excitement back for it again. I do feel sometimes I need to remind myself that it's a hobby and not a job, and at times it did start to feel a wee bit like a job. So I kind of, I was only posting kind of older pictures. I was spending time working on the hides, still topping them up, still keeping them busy. But I'm excited again. I'm excited, and I'm really looking forward to, especially, this afternoon I had the company of a male goshawk for an hour and a half. So,
what else can you be? What else do you have to complain about?
Funnily enough, things like that will make you excited. So
I found that, like, I took a break. So I went to Scotland last July to early August, and then from then till this weekend, I went to London for 2 days for the Red Deer Rut, and I think I went to photograph the dippers once, and just having that long break away from it all, and just use my archive of images to upload and stuff like that, and have a really good breakaway. Kind of brought back a lot of the excitements, like this weekend going out and seeing the mountain hares and the pine martins and stuff like that. I reckon if I'd done that in, say, September last year, I probably wouldn't have felt nowhere near the level of excitement I found from going out and photographing them. So yeah, I get exactly where you're coming from. And do you know what, right? If I do manage to get up and you still got the Goshawk Hide and stuff there, it's one place that I am very much looking forward to. Obviously to see Goshawks up close and stuff like that, who can complain. But I just really want to take in all the hard work that you've done and just kind of, it's hard to, obviously it's hard to appreciate it when all you see is through social media, because we all know social media can make things seem very much not what they are. But the consistency of stuff that you've put up and the way you're talking tonight and the videos you put up and all the effort you went in when obviously there was the issues with having the hide there and stuff like that, people can very much, or people with common sense anyways, can very much see that you are putting the hard work in and that it is a place that you're not profiting from and you're not in it just to get a few Instagram likes and a bit of money in your back pocket. Because you could, I mean, you're like me, you've got a family, you've got kids, you could very easily turn that into a very successful business. But then for what? Like all that hard work just for tons of other people to profit from with images. And I mean, would the money really still give you that sense of accomplishment that first day with the Goshawks did?
Yeah, I mean, as I say, I do these videos. I do my little videos, my little Instagram stories and stuff like that because I like to show people the reality of it. And I get a lot of crap off of people because for not allowing them up to the hide, and it's not about like. I've let some amazing photographers up to that hide. You know, I'm very good friends with Gary Jones. Gary Jones is an amazing photographer. Obviously, does this full time. You know, I have let some amazing photographers into that hide, and oh god, have they got results that I've looked at and went, you know? But as I said before, it's because of my work that they have got those results, and it's never when I refuse somebody access to the hide, it's never because I'm worried that they're going to take a better photo than me, or you know, I feel like I'm a custodian for these birds. I almost feel like I have to protect them. I know, and I don't like the ownership aspect of I don't own these birds. But I have a responsibility. Like, do you know what I mean by that? Like,
you've started the work. It's your job to fulfill it and to see it out and make sure that the work. The fact that you've got these goshawks coming into the same spot and nesting is like we've already said, is probably down to the work that you've done in. And I get what you mean, where now you feel like because they're coming in the nesting nearby, you need to upkeep that and just make sure they're safe, because humans are dicks at the end of the day, and all it takes is one person to come in with the wrong morals and ruin all them years of hard work.
I mean, generally, I'm not against having other people come at the hide, and it's there's a bit of the old attitude test, and it is very much, you know, if somebody says that, oh, this guy's all right, that guy's, I know this, you know, if it comes through a recommendation or something like that, then, you know, I'm more than willing to have people, and because people, it's an amazing experience. It's, you know, it really is. And I mean, I've had people tell me, you know, they would have had to pay thousands of pounds to go across to Holland or Germany or wherever else to photograph them, and yet they've managed to photograph them, you know, a couple of hours from their door or whatever. So, you know, it's I don't know. It's as I say, I hate the whole ownership aspect of wildlife, but I feel as though I do have a weird bit of a responsibility more than anything else.
Let's put you on the spot a second. Get back to what you just said then about people coming in. When you did that competition and my name popped up, what was the first thought through your mind?
Well, the thing is, again, this very much comes down to what I see you post and what I see you do, and I actually got a bit of crap for that competition as well. People were like, I had like people messaging me going, "Oh, I can't believe you're just letting any random in," and I'm like, well, I'm not. I'm still vetting this, and this is still. These are individuals that follow my page and know what I'm up to and know what I'm about. So, like when I saw your name, I'd seen your stuff. I knew what you did, and I was comfortable with that. I mean, some of the people that I have met through my photography, like Norman Watson. Norman's got a hide, Woodside hide, and it's on his own property, and I didn't know Norman before, but we'd followed each other's work for, I'd say, 2 or 3 years. We'd followed each other's pages, and we knew what each other were about. And he's now one of my best mates through
I've seen his
photography.
work, and he is. I mean, I've seen him. I follow him on Instagram through what I've seen you, and an absolutely unreal photographer. And I've seen the Goshawk images he's put up and stuff like that. And yeah, his work is insane, and you really get to. It's hard. It's a difficult statement to make, but you do really get to know somebody when you follow them that long, and you see what they're like on social media, and you see what they're doing. You see the work and the behind the scenes. This is why I love your Instagram, because there's so much behind the scenes. You do these videos when you're at the hide, and I will literally, no matter what I'm doing, if I get a story update from you, because I get notifications when you pop up a story or if you go live or something like that, and I'll stop what I'm doing and I'll sit and watch it and stuff like that, because this is why I started doing YouTube as well, is because I love watching that sort of stuff. And I think, well, if I love watching it, a lot of people have watching it, so why not give it a go myself? And I give it a go, and it's turned out shit. But
it's really, I don't know. Like I had no preconceived ideas with the videos or anything like that. I just I find with social media, you get these guys that post stuff, and they post the best images every single day. And there's this misconception. I think a lot of people just getting into wildlife photography and getting into it, they see these amazing images and they think, oh my God, that guy's going out every day and he's getting amazing pictures of kingfishers and barn owls and this and that and that. And the reality of it is those images do not come from every day. These images
we're looking at it and we know that the hours in. I took 2,500 photos on Saturday, and do you know how many I edited and how many are scheduled to go onto Instagram? 41 out of 2,500 images. That was just a day, and I was in a hide as well, so like the opportunity was there. On a day when if I go up to photograph the dippers, I might take 500 images and have one out of that from a 2-hour drive up there. Sat in a river for like literally when I say sat in a river, I mean we are sat waist deep in a river with a pair of cheap Nighthawk I said cheap, they're absolutely I don't want to slag Nighthawk off because they give me them for free. Fantastic guys. I love the waders. But sat in these waders, freezing my manhood off just to come away with one image. But that one image, leaving with that one image, and when you go to the Goshawk Hide, if you've spent that 2.5 years to maybe finally get that one photo, that just makes it all worth it. And
I don't want to rub it in here, but I did take about 2,000 images this afternoon during about an hour and a half of the Goshawk. So
right, I think your time's done there.
Yeah, and on that note,
I get it, and it's I just like to do the videos because it gives people the reality of it. And I mean, I have spent. God, I'm the same as you guys. I've spent hours and days and weeks and months, as you say, up to your Nicky knackers and freezing cold water just to get that one picture of a kingfisher or a dipper or a goshawk or whatever the hell it may well be. And I just think the videos give a wee bit of reality and like kind of let people know that this is what you will do if you want to get into wildlife photography. And if you want it.
A luxury. People are getting this. Obviously, it's becoming more and more popular with younger people, and people are getting this idea that it's a luxury hobby, and it's like kind of like I don't know. Think of a crap hobby people love doing.
Knitting.
I
was far too quick with that one.
What do you do in your spare time? But I don't know. Like fishing, for example. I say even fishing, I do fishing, and I spent more hours not catching than I have catching. But a hobby that people go out and do, and they have so much fun and success each and every time they do it.
Well, this is it. It's like Chris mentioned. There's people out there that mislead people into thinking every single time they're going out, they're nailing these perfect images.
And in reality, that's not going on.
I'm a bit of a culprit. And you know me, Corey. I hate
social media whore.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I do like to post the perfect image, and I'll work to get that perfect image. And there'll be times where I've been out and I've got utter garbage, and it'll never grace the internet, nor will it grace the likes of my Lightroom, because it'll end up in an archived bin folder somewhere that maybe 6 years down the line I'll look at and think, oh, why did I do that? But on the other foot, I think there is then, and I'll be honest with it. If people ask me, they'll ask, how did it go? No, I'll say it was shite. But there are people
as
out
long as
there
you're honest
that,
about it.
yeah, there are people out there that will, make people believe that every single time they go out, they're nailing these perfect images, and their subjects are doing exactly what they want them to do, and that's not the case, because it can be images from 5, 6, 7, 10 years ago. You know what I mean?
And that's it. Unless you have the luxury of a Gossor card where they come in for an hour and a half a time and stuff like that. But yeah, well, I mean, this has been a really, really good episode, and we've spurt for 2 hours, well, over 2 hours now. So I think it's about time we wrap up. So Dan asked this question. Dan said to me before we started the podcast, we wanted to ask everybody the same question. And you've probably give us some sort of answer for all this, but in your own words, just sum up what you do means to you on a personal level, why you get up each day and do it, what it brings to you as an individual.
As you say, I think I've touched on it throughout the episode, but we also said there about the, you'll go out and you'll have a photography session, and I'll have days in the Hyde where I know this. I'll come home and my wife will say, "Oh, did you see much?" And I'll say, "No." And I know she kind of thinks it's always a bit of a waste of time, but my time out in nature for me is one of the most important things, and it's my way of de-stressing. It's my way of relaxing. It's you kind of gather your thoughts and just sit there in the woods and listen to the birds and listen to everything else, and not just for me. Like I said earlier on, if I can share that with individuals, and have other people experience that, and other people live it through me as well, because I know I've got people that follow my pages that say to me they can't get up into the woods, or they can't do this, or they can't do that, so they love seeing my videos and they love seeing my footage. So as I say, for me, it's about the feeling it gives me, and relaxation and kind of de-stressing. And if I can pass that on to some other people, I think that's what's the most important thing.
A very, very nice way of putting it.
Beautifully put.
Yeah, I agree. In terms of like the de-stressing side of it and stuff like that. Again, I think we talk about this every single episode so far, and
I think we're going to do a specific,
we're going to do
sort of podcast around it during it's beginning of May, isn't it? If correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, first week of May. We've got 2 guests coming on to chat about it in more detail and whatnot, because it is important, and we need to raise importance. All 3 of us, we've had, obviously I'm not making assumptions, but I meant we look at, for example, being a parent, having 2 kids and stuff like that. It is tough. It is hard. People think you live a life of luxury and stuff like that. And then when you do go out and enjoy the things, all you do is get more hate, because you should be at home with the kids and stuff. And Dan, you work Monday to Friday and stuff like that, and then you've got your partner that doesn't even live remotely close to you, so you've got to then travel to go see her and stuff like that. And everybody's got those things in their life which sets them back. So to have a project that's been as successful as yours, and for us to get up to Scotland and photograph species that we've wanted to photograph for a long time, even just stepping out your door and going for a walk with a dog,
15,
or
20-minute walk, you being outside can just,
I mean, some of my best wildlife experiences have been completely off the cuff. I mean, like I have this photograph on my pages of this pine marten coming across an old railway bridge, and it's still to this day one of the best pine marten shots I've ever taken. And to be honest with you, I don't know if I'll ever top it. And I was out for a walk with my wife and my kids and my dog, and 10:15 in the morning, pine marten skipping towards me. And if I hadn't been out, I would have never ever seen that. I've never seen it, never experienced it.
And you probably felt a lot better for that afterwards, because it's one of them shots that you're going to look back at and think, how the bloody hell did I get that? But you're going to be proud about it. And it's like, for me, this weekend going up and photographing the pine martens, and it's particularly Sunday, meeting up with Jeff Cooper. I don't know if you've watched his YouTube and stuff like that before. Fantastic, really nice bloke, and walking up the mountains, and it was tough. It was tiring. I'd had about 3 hours sleep because Rob had his bloody work alarm set for 6 o'clock in the morning for some reason. I was fuming about that. But we walked up the mountain, and we sat in freezing cold ice and snow. I was photographing a mountain hare laid on my front while I had a small stream of water running down the mountain, flowing right into my crotch. It was cold. When I got back to that cottage that day, I haven't felt this de-stressed in about a year. That's no exaggeration. That's 100% true. I haven't felt like I had a nice hot shower and a cup of tea and sat and went through a cup of coffee. I don't drink tea. A cup of coffee, went through my images, and then got up early the next morning, photographed the Northern Lights, which I was not expecting at all. And like, I haven't felt like that good in a long, long time, and I needed it. And same way, you like that little walk with your family and stuff like that, and you've left with, obviously you've had a moment with your family, you've left with an image. And if Dan walks throughout the mountains and photographs the mountain goats this weekend, the kind of the moral of the story, and I'll finish up on this, is we all do it for that reason, and the feeling we get afterwards is worth more than any photo that we'll take.
Bang on.
Yeah.
Couldn't have summed it up better myself.
I won't waffle on anymore because it's been getting on. It's been really, really good to have you on, Chris. I mean, like I say, we're so early into the podcast and every episode just gets better and better. All of our guests have been spot on, and today's I've absolutely loved chatting about it. I'm sure Dan will say the same thing.
100%. It's been great. Absolutely phenomenal.
What we'll do is...
I really appreciate you asking me to come on. You know, it's as I've said all along, I mean, this is a hobby for me and for many others. So to be asked to come along and do something like this is... that's a huge privilege as well. So thank you very much.
We really wanted to talk about goshawks, and we asked Ian, but he wasn't available. So.
He'll like that. He'll enjoy that.
Yeah, I mean, we both know you personally. I'd say personally now. Me recently, Dan, obviously over however long he's known you and stuff like that. So we were really looking forward to having you on.
Still a meet in person though. Still a meet in person.
Still a meet.
Yes,
it will happen one day, Chris.
I'll come up this year. I'll be back when I get my car. I've got my driving test coming up, and that I'm coming back up to Scotland this year, and it'll happen. So, right, what we'll do then is me and Dan are gonna wrap up the podcast. If you just hang around in the background for a few minutes, Chris, while we wrap up and stuff, and then we'll quickly catch up with you before the end. So, thank you very much for coming on.
No bother at all.
Smashing.
Oh, that was really interesting. That
was phenomenal. I mean, over 2 hours of just pure discussion. It's just been amazing.
Last week, obviously, with Andy and that, it was a really good episode. And I said about splitting up the podcast into 2 parts. And the feedback I've had from it has been, just let it roll. We would much rather listen to it for 2 hours than to split up. And I thought, do you know what? Like, we tried something, and I think letting it run naturally like this, even if people pause it and come back to it later.
People can do an hour's trip somewhere, go to photograph some wildlife, and then do an hour of us, an hour of us on the way back.
Yeah, that's it. It was, do you know what, really interesting. It's definitely. I said to Susie, I said we're filming at 6:30. I'll be done for about 7:30.
Yeah, I said that. Right, no, I said exactly the same thing to Jen. I said, she asked me how long we've been recording for. Oh, not long, just the usual. Just over an hour, an hour and a half at a push. But yeah.
so before we wrap up, I did say to you this earlier on in our first episode. I thought, do you know what I want to do every week? I want to have my joke of the week.
Oh yeah.
We swore a lot in this episode. So
we did.
Can I say?
I don't know why I'm apologizing now, but my gran will listen to it. So soz and all that. But she's probably not made it this far.
I've got 3 jokes. We had 2 episodes last week and 1 today, and I didn't do them last week. So I've got 3 jokes. Two of them are soft. One of them is a bit of an R-rated joke. So my first one, I went to my doctor's last week, and I said to him, I've been having some real awful problems. And he said, go on, explain it to me. And I said, I've developed a really, really irrational fear of Tom Jones and his music. I said to him, is that common? And he went, it's not unusual.
Okay.
I see Chris laughing. I'm assuming he gets that joke.
I also get the joke, just to clarify.
All right, good, cool. Well, I'll go to like that one. My second joke, which absolutely made me piss, was when I was younger. When I was a kid, I was made to walk the plank because we couldn't afford a dog.
Yeah, I like that one.
And my final joke is a bit of a the delivery's got to be spot on this. So I'm gonna have to try and get it right first time because we don't have the time to edit it. So last week I was in a toilet. Well, I went to a public toilet and I saw a bloke stood there at a urinal and he had no arms and he was just stood there looking real helpless. I carried on, went and did my business, and I was having a whiz, and I looked across at him and he was just still sat there looking helpless and that. And I thought, okay, I'll have to do something. So I said to him, do you want an hand? And he was like, yeah, if you want mine, please. So I unzipped him and got out his manhood. And it was the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, it was grim. There was like mold growing on it and it was oozing summer, and it was It was just awful. It was the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. So anyway, we did it anyways and that, and put it away, I zipped him back up. And I said to him, I said, I don't want to sound rude, but what's the matter with your penis? And he looked at me as he started taking his arms out of his sleeves and that. He said, fuck knows, but I'll be fucked if I'm touching it. Come on, Dan. Come on.
That's got me, is that? That's really got me.
I heard that on a podcast a couple of months ago.
Oh, that is brilliant.
And to this day, I haven't told it to anybody. It was on this little podcast that gets about 20 viewers every now and again. And I thought, that is absolutely gold.
That'll be ours next episode now after them.
Yeah. Well, I'll go back to an R-rated, a PG-rated joke next week. I did have one more backed up. I don't know if you want to hear my last one.
Oh God, do I?
I don't know if I told you this beforehand. What did Cinderella say when she got to the ball?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
That is us done. That is us.
That is it. You're forgetting something.
I am, and I'm actually looking at it right now.
So Dan, would you have the honour of choosing our photo of the week, please?
Yeah, I would. Now I've become a little bit of a lover of reels recently, as people will probably have seen on my Instagram.
I do love a good reel.
Do love a good reel. I need to do more, but I do love them. So this week I'm not picking a photo. I'm picking a reel.
I think I know which reel you're picking because I think it's the same reel I'm watching right now.
I'm literally just looking at it as we speak. So it's from Alex Cleverly. Absolutely smashing reel of some red squirrels he filmed up in the Lake District. So yeah, massive shout out to him. I love a reel. It's just well filmed. It's crackily filmed. His
partner did a really good one last week of the was it
Jess
the blue tip?
She did. Both of them hammer in the reel game at the moment. Which is lovely to see, especially now that I've become a bit of a whore for reels.
Yeah, I do love a good reel. I put one up the other day of a raw versus unedited, and it got
one of them
3,139 views so far.
Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad. Mine's taken a fat L. Oh no, we're at 600 now. It's all right.
So I put a reel up a couple of years ago of a red deer trying to hump a female to edited version of Smash Mouth's All Star.
Amazing.
It was a one pump wonder, and that got 8,500 views in about an hour and a half, and then it stopped. Yeah. So yeah. Cool. Well, that was it. It's been a brilliant episode. I've really very, very much enjoyed this. I'll come back with some better jokes next week. But if you'd like to very kindly wrap us up, Dan.
Yeah, like Corey said, that's been an absolute phenomenal episode. Great discussions, great points. Massive shout out to absolutely everybody who is just leaving us feedback, who's listening to this, listening to me, Corey, and our guests waffle on for 2 hours.
Who's helped us get monetized on Spotify.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that, but yeah, just shout out to everybody.
Our current balance is £0.
It is,
but it's there. If
you share it amongst your friends and we get another 40 listeners, who knows where we'll be next week?
We might be able to take a trip to Poundland.
Whoa!
In a year's time, we could afford to go visit the best pine martin hard in the northwest Scotland.
Perfect ending. Perfect ending. So yeah, thanks guys for listening. We'll catch you in next episode where we've had potentially a guest reshuffle, Corey.
Yes, but for a very important reason.
For a very important reason.
So it might just be me and Dan next week, but we shall see.
Well, we have Mick from
Mick.
Yorkshire Photography Hides booked in for Tuesday.
We've just had Chris from the Goshawk Hide, so do we really need Mick now?
Oh.
Yeah,
Goshawk kestrels. I mean,
yeah, it's like comparing a golden eagle to a pigeon.
It is a bit, isn't it? But,
no, yeah. I joke. Mick, we joke. We think you're fantastic. So yes, we're very much looking forward
to that. Absolutely. So yeah, until next time, guys. I will catch you all in a bit.
Yeah, and thank you from me. See you all soon.